water
Egg
really
and Verdant.
quick.
Hi guys.
Can I just say that I love that Post and Morgan are together in the same room for this? Aw.
That's only gonna happen for
like-
one more week, or
This is the last.
Yeah, this will be the
Stop-
last week.
Yeah.
Stop bringing up sad things.
I'm gonna be right back and grab a water while you guys do this stuff. I'll be right back.
let's judge her stuff in the background.
I love her stuff.
I love the
Oh, where are
diva
we gonna
pillow.
judge it? Maybe we're gonna live. Yeah.
I don't know what. So you see on the bottom, the second from the left in the center. I don't know what those two things are.
The Pachimar? Is that the Reaper?
No. It's it's like right below the diva pillow, on the bottom layer, the second one to the left. It's like an orange thing with a. It looks like a
this is
O,
what the room actually looks
and
like.
then
Right?
it looks like this other dark looking thing that I don't know what it is.
Is it from World of Warcraft?
I have no idea.
There's a lot of Blizzard, and she has a few Studio Ghibli things.
I see she has a lot of dragons, but I don't know where they're from.
I can't redeem
Where
Bowser's
are the dragons from?
And I don't know enough about WoW to like I know the dragons in WoW, but that's because of Hearthstone, and I don't know what they look like in plushie form.
That's so interesting because you're right, because you do know, like, sometimes I'll, like, I don't know if it'll be me mentioning a WoW thing or I'll see a WoW thing and you'll be like, oh, it's that. I'm like, how do you know about that?
Yeah.
You're like, Hearthstone. Like, oh, wow.
That's literally the only reason I know anything about WoW is because of Hearthstone.
I want to like pinch the screen and zoom in. You
Yeah, I know, right?
Wait, will this work?
The middle.
Oh, never mind.
next to- Hey,
It's gonna
Ice
fuck up
Dragon.
the thing.
Hey, Ice Dragon, how are you?
Thank you
Our
for all the
Stitch,
hype earlier.
It looks like.
It did not go unnoticed.
I don't think there's a Stitch. I think it's like a dragon or something.
We're just analyzing. Oh wait, she can't hear us yet. We're just analyzing your background.
Oh,
Yeah, we were trying to figure out what the plushies were.
Trev wants to know what the black and orange ones are, right? Like two things below.
Yeah,
the-
directly below the diva pillow on the bottom row.
Hey, Zenbo, how are you?
like in the center?
Yeah, the very bottom row, second from the left.
They're dregs from
Oh.
World of Warcraft.
Haha,
See, there you go.
I did it.
Hey Zeppo.
This is like very light for me right now, so I'm gonna try and see if that helps. No, it's like way too dark.
Ooh.
Ooh,
No,
that's very
that's
sensual.
that's hella
I'm
dark
into
now.
it.
Yeah.
I'm leaving it. It's very
Like
sensual.
I kind of like that it's like different from daytime.
Yeah.
Spinachee. This is
This
like
is-
nighttime.
This is like when I'm wearing a smoky eye.
Yeah.
Yeah, instead. Also, it feels weird not to have
Ah.
OBS open right now, but
I just closed mine
Not spoopy ash.
because I was afraid I was gonna
No.
accidentally stream.
Yep.
so thanks for having me on to interview my favorite person in the entire world.
Did you, I wasn't here for the beginning, of course. Did you explain the essential, like, gimmick behind what these episodes
no,
are?
actually.
No, we haven't.
We didn't. We've just been
Because
letting
no one was
everybody
here,
sit
so
and
like we
mystery.
didn't want to explain
Yeah,
it. and
we wanted to wait till
have a-
everybody was here to officially launch.
Okay, sure, yeah.
So is anyone going to explain it, or are we just
Okay,
going to
yeah,
sit
yeah.
quietly?
I guess I could explain it. So, we had the idea, actually, Melly had the idea a long time ago of each of the hosts. So if you're like totally new here and you don't know, we generally like interview streamers and stuff like that on this show. And Melly was like, I think it'd be cool if we did an interview for each of the hosts where each of us gets to be the guest for one episode. And I suggested an amendment to the idea where we bring in, like, for those episodes, we bring in a guest host, which is someone who's not usually a host, but claims all the power of the host for one episode to help us interview that person. So this week, our interview subject is Melly, who is ordinarily one of our hosts, but is today a guest. And our guest host is Ash, who is ordinarily a guest, but today is a host. So I hope that that was a followable set of ideas I just declared.
And if
But
not,
trust
just
me, you'll
read
pick
the
it up as
title.
we go along.
'Cause that'll explain everything.
So we're flipping the interview around.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
I am in the hot seat tonight, you guys. So bring
I
your
like it.
questions.
There are questions that I asked earlier that I've been waiting to hear answers to
What? Are you
from this morning.
Oh, this morning, yeah. Ash
We'll
tried
get to
it.
those at the end, though. Those are
okay.
the most important ones. But yeah, I'm like, I'm really excited because obviously, I think a lot of the questions that I wrote questions down because I figured it would be
You
like
actually wrote
better
questions.
that way.
She's
Because
prepped.
I'm,
She came prepared.
I'm ready.
She's professional.
Ash is taking her role exceedingly seriously, probably more seriously than any of us have ever taken it.
Then you need to make sure Zippy steps his shit up so that he's this prepared.
Yeah,
I kind of got scared when I saw the paper. I was like, oh my god.
Well, I know the answers to some of these, but I figured that some people may not because okay. So I'm gonna give you a little background. Sugar and I started off as like Twitch friends and then became IRL friends, and like I talk to Sugar every day.
Every
Every day. And so most of these I know the answer to because we've just either chit-chatted through stream, chit-chat through DM text, whatever. But a lot of people don't. So I think I'm really excited to focus on Sugar, especially because I feel like in this group setting, we don't get the same kind of touch on those things like I know for Sugar and like everybody else. So that's why I wanted to start with like basics and kind of work our way into other stuff.
And also, if you guys have any questions for me,
Yeah, feel free to throw
we're
them
AMA
in.
all the time, every day, all the time. So,
Yeah.
don't hold
Did
back.
you guys want to do your news first, or should I just go right into it?
The news we generally like save to the end because we sort of just run out of interview questions and we start wanting to talk about games with the person we're interviewing, and that's usually how the news comes up. But if we don't get to that, that's like okay. If you have like I didn't realize
we don't have like a whole lot of articles. We have
like
like
a whole
ones.
thing here. Like this is like if this is gonna be like real 60 minutes here, then it's okay if we don't get to the news. And
I would say that there's like I have like 13 questions, and I feel like could each be touched on for a little bit.
Okay, sure.
Some more in depth than others.
I did have questions that Ash wanted to ask me, which she
Wait, you know the
she's
questions
not streaming.
beforehand? That's
Yeah.
not how it's supposed
Yeah.
to work.
Well,
You said I was gonna ask these on stream later.
Yeah.
Why?
So, inside fact from like radio things, generally, actually, even radio interviews that look like they're like not scripted. Some of them, what happens is the producer sits down with the guest for like an hour before the show and asks them a bunch of questions, and then gives the host like the best questions from that list. And so, the preparation is okay.
I did prep Sugar.
Yeah. Okay. So this is a highly professional, authentic.
Well, yeah. The ones that I thought were harder to answer, I let her know ahead of time.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's fair. We wouldn't want to have like a Robert Downey Jr. situation where we ambush our guest with a bunch of personal questions, and they storm off and leave and tweet about us later.
Should I ask the questions that I asked you earlier, Sugar?
Just start wherever you think it's
why
the
are you my
easiest.
favorite streamer, and why are you better than
Hey,
everyone
bacon.
else? That's what she.
And then name one bad thing about Tifa. We already know the answer to that.
Already
There's
know
nothing. There's nothing. She's perfect. And then why are my boobs better than everyone else's?
Yeah.
Alright, thank God this is marked as mature.
We just got that out of the way.
Yeah. Okay, they're done. Okay. I guess. Should I go? Should I go?
Those were our
just
icebreakers.
start whenever.
Those were.
Well,
our
I actually have an
icebreakers.
icebreaker. I
okay.
wrote
Oh
this
my
down one. Okay. So let's say we're in a zombie apocalypse, right? Like
Okay.
100% shit's hit the
That's different
fan.
than the one we're in now.
a legitimate zombie
A
apocalypse.
zombie
okay.
apocalypse. Like
What would be your one fear? Though you can only pick one fear, your greatest one, and then your greatest strength as a survivor in a zombie apocalypse.
Oh, my greatest fear. Okay, that's easy. Having to kill someone who turned, somebody I love.
Okay. All right.
And actually,
That's a good answer.
Do you know it's really funny? I've read. I actually have thought about this at length.
What?
I actually did a whole podcast episode on another podcast specifically about what I would do in the zombie apocalypse, and I shared that like so most of you guys know that I'm married to my husband John, and one of the things that we talked about in our like premarital counseling was zombie apocalypse. Like we agreed ahead of time, like, okay, if one of us turns, the other one has to kill them. So that was like these were serious questions that we talked about in advance. We're like,
what does this mean?
Like you have to talk about these questions. Like, how many kids do you want? You know, do you want to buy a house? And also, are you willing to kill me if I turn into a zombie during the zombie apocalypse?
Trevor, I can hear your messages popping.
What's up, Eric?
So I've actually thought about this at length. So
okay, so that's your biggest fear. What would be your biggest strength as a survivor? Like, let's say I was the leader of a cult in a zombie apocalypse, and I was like, I'm either going to kill you right now, or you can tell me what trait you have to help us stay afloat. What would be that trait?
Oh my god. Wait, how did you become leader of this colony?
That got dark real fast.
What is the backstory here in which you are the...
She had all the gear
alpha.
and loot, because...
Do you know how much yeast I have? Okay, I bought all the yeast at the grocery store before it was too late. Okay, I can make bread for everybody for ages. That's why I'm the cult leader. But yeah, what would be your thing that you bring to the table, your greatest strength?
Okay, this is actually gonna... This is gonna sound like counter everything I do on my stream. But I'm actually, like, fantastic at building fires. So I feel like... Yeah.
I did not know that about you.
I know. So I know, like, in games, like, I'm constantly lighting myself on fire, and that's, like, my thing. But, like, in real life, I'm actually kind of a pyromaniac. Like, I love fire. Like, I have a fire
You heard it here first.
And like at any like friend gathering or like camping trip or anything that involves like building a campfire, I am always the one that builds the fire, because that's my skill set. So I feel like I'd be like the one like back at the home base, like tending the fire, making sure things get cooked. So I'll be like making sure everybody's warm and well fed back at home base. That would be my strength.
That's a really good one. That's a good answer. I actually don't know how to build a fire.
Wait,
at least correctly.
Would you say that you're the Prometheus of like...
Yeah, okay, literally, so one time I was up visiting some friends in Georgia, and so you guys know I live in Florida. We don't get fall down here, so any chance I get to go up north and like actually experience autumn, like apple picking, like fall stuff, I love that. So I went up and visited a friend up in Georgia, and we decided to go like apple picking, and we decided to like just bake a bunch of stuff and like build a fire and do like pumpkin carving. Like just basically decided to cram all of like autumn in like one day, because and then we built a fire, and I built the fire actually in the backyard, and rather than like put it out at the end of the night, we just kind of like let it burn down, and then 8 hours later it was still burning. And so they wanted to like reignite it. So I basically just like blew on it, and it like came back to life. And so they were like, your superpower
You've
is
been
fire.
touched by fire.
I know. So like that was like, so that's like the running joke now, is that I like can literally like breathe fire into existence.
Did you say Dracarys when it happened?
Yeah. Exactly. I whispered Dracarys.
Yeah. No, we know she didn't whisper. She yelled it. like a true queen.
So that is actually my real life special skill.
That's really cool. That's actually a great survival skill.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are my icebreakers. I was kind of thinking, I was like, how do I start this?
What?
But I feel like those are like fun questions.
Am I allowed to ask you what yours is? Do you?
What mine would be?
I mean, you're like obviously running shit. Like that's my superpower.
Yeah. I have an attitude.
I'm the alpha.
Yeah. Probably my. No, I think that my greatest weakness would absolutely be map knowledge. Like, I do not know how to read a map to save my life. Like, if I had a map, like if there is no sign anywhere, I'm like, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
It's funny you say, okay, so that same trip where I did all that fall stuff, one of the things that we did was go to a corn maze.
Oh God, did you get lost?
No, because that's my other superpower, is that they were relying on me to navigate the map. Like I was with 3 of my friends, and all of them were like, "We don't know where to go." I was like, "Oh, obviously we go here, we turn left, we go right, and we do this." So I was the one who navigated everybody out of the corn maze.
Is it-
So
So you're also a
alright.
cartographer?
I will learn the maps for you.
Yeah, I don't know. And then probably my greatest strength in a zombie apocalypse is I have weapons training, like legitimate weapons.
Oh
training.
yeah.
So yeah, which you know. So that's probably my greatest
I
strength.
do have my katana, which I showed last stream.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
yours
I
might
have
be
one over there.
shown.
Oh, wait, do I need to show everybody?
Yes.
Hold on. I'll be right back.
Here goes.
Trev also has a bit of an assortment of weapons in his
I
possession.
have 3 swords
There's
and 2
one
bows.
right in the background.
Yeah, there's
Show 'em.
2 weapons.
Are you
right
allowed
there.
to show them? Are you allowed to show like swords off on stream? I don't know.
Yep.
I didn't.
Okay.
The stream Megalyn was on, but that was before the whole TLS thing.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're allowed to like show off weapons and stuff like that.
So
you're just
this
not
is-
allowed to like
this
chop
is
someone's head off with them or shoot.
This
A
is
gun.
Or shoot a gun
I
when
won't
you're
accidentally-
online.
Yeah,
But
this
this
is
is
the
my
katana
katana.
that Mellie got after she got really pissed off that she couldn't go see a panel.
Yeah, specifically The Walking Dead because
Fancy mission.
Mm-hmm. So, I you have my blade.
No, you're right, Ice Dragon. That's a bow. Trev has a few bows actually.
And my axe.
You have so in
Okay.
this commune, you've got my blade.
I like it. That's
Hey,
good.
Bove, how are you? Enjoy the lurk, man.
And melees
I-
are so much more suited for zombie apocalypses. So
Yeah. No, I like it.
Yeah.
You've been
so-
watching a lot of Kingdoms, so that helps. You're prepared.
Oh,
I
I've
just-
been meaning to watch that show. Is that good?
I love
It's
Kingdom.
so good.
It's
It's
so
so
good.
good.
That'll be one of my quarantine shows. Y'all are gonna get a bunch of
And-
DMs from me updating you on my progress.
Please, you should watch
Perfect.
it honestly, and don't look up anything about it. Just watch.
Yeah,
it.
just go
I
in
won't.
blind.
I never do.
Go in-
I avoid
go into
spoilers
cold.
like no one else. Like I'm a black belt at avoiding spoilers and things.
So I am actually quite skilled. So I feel like I have a lot to offer your zombie apocalypse.
You know, I've taken a
2015.
lot of classes, but I have not taken a sword building class, which I think would be actually really cool. Pole dancing, but not sword wielding. Okay, so to kick things off, what was your first memory with gaming in general? Whether it was like with a family member or a friend, do you remember like your first interaction where you were like, "Oh, we're gonna play video games today," or something like that?
Yeah. So I kind of always joke that my parents didn't believe in video games. So like we weren't really allowed to have them at home. Or like more like my parents didn't really understand the value of them because they were like, why would you need to do this? You have music and the outdoors and like so my parents were sort of anti video games. But my very first memory of gaming was we had our friends who's like we went over to their house like every weekend. They were like my parents' best friends, and they got the Nintendo NES when it first came out, and so like just playing like Super Mario and like Duck Hunt, like watching them play, and then me like you know because like they're all into playing it, you know.
Yeah.
But then when I finally got the chance, like, you know, can I take a turn? You know, whatever. Like, that was like my first like experience was the original.
Did you and your sister like try and convince your parents after that, or was that
Oh,
kind of like
oh no, my
your
sister.
your
didn't-
secret? Your
my
secret-
my sister didn't care. Like she wasn't
Okay.
really into it. Like she could get down with some Duck Hunt, I think.
Yeah.
But I loved it. I begged my parents to get one. They were like, no, we don't need one of those. They're expensive. So I was like, oh, okay. So I literally just played games when I was at my friend's house. So we never had it at home growing up.
So it was your thing to like look forward to whenever you would go there. Well,
Yeah.
quick question off of that. What was the first console or thing that you owned that was gaming related? Like
Okay.
just off that.
So I did actually. My parents were eventually okay with me getting something, but I had to pay for it myself. So I saved up like all my Christmas money and allowance money, and like my first thing I bought was a Sega Game Gear because I wanted something handheld.
Oh,
So-
cool. Yeah, we've talked about that.
Yeah. So I was all about Sega. Like I was Really into Sonic. I would play that a lot. And then my first console I actually did not get until like PS2 was my first console that I actually bought for myself.
Yeah.
So
I think that changed the way the media portrayed the fight between PS2, Xbox, and GameCube at the time. I think that it really was highlighted for a lot of people that may have like not been interested in gaming before, if that makes sense. So
yeah.
I'm not super surprised that PS2 was like the first like official one.
Yeah, that's actually so for me. Like, I actually feel like I got into gaming fairly late. It wasn't something that obviously like we grew up with in the house. It was just something that I kind of enjoyed on my own and didn't know anybody like that's actually why I love Twitch so much, because like I didn't really know any like female friends that were really into gaming. Like it was always like, oh, that's what the boys were into. And
yeah,
so it was like, and so it's totally. Like, you know, so I didn't really have people that had that same interest growing up, and so it was kind of a thing that gaming was kind of a thing that I kind of phased in and out of over the years. And so there would be like seasons where I didn't play games at all, and then I would kind of come back to it.
So the thing with the PS2 is there were so many games. What were you playing back then?
Okay. So I had a roommate in college that had a PS2. And I liked playing whatever she had. I think like she really liked Time Splitters, and so I would play that with her. I was obsessed with this is gonna be like really dorky, but I really liked the show 24 when it came out. I don't know if you guys ever played that. And I was like obsessed. Okay, so Ash, you were talking earlier on your stream about how you were like in message boards about like Final
Why
Fantasy.
are you doxing me here?
You're like, that stays in my channel.
They accept me for who I am.
This is pretty much the same crowd, I think.
Yeah.
And so I was like obsessed with that show. Like I was also in message boards, except they were about like counterterrorism. 24. So when they released that game on the PS2,
you think that's worse than making Tifa and Cloud fan art?
No, I felt like that's cool. Like that like.
Why is yours cool and mine's not?
Well, because
I don't know, Melanie. I think Ash might have you on this one.
I'm just saying, like, what has more staying power? Like, we just released this game that's
there's a re-release of Final Fantasy VII. I'm just saying.
Nobody's talking about 24 right now. I'm just saying, like.
No, that's kind of what I'm getting at. Like Final Fantasy, at least the world knows what to do with Final Fantasy fans. At least we know where they stand. 24 fans who like played the game were like, "Yo, there was a game of that." That's
I know.
real?
I remember.
So,
no, I remember the game.
So like, I actually really enjoyed playing that one. So another game I really got into was Kingdom Hearts, which I know makes you want to throw up in your mouth.
I love Kingdom Hearts.
Well, it's funny because like you're playing this Final Fantasy game right now, and I'm like, oh, I know that character. Oh, I know that character. Like,
they're not from that game.
It's well, I just telling you, I know them because of Kingdom Hearts.
I know. You know what? Baby steps. Baby steps.
Also, the reason I got into, I think I've shared this before, but I had this like mad crush on this guy who it was like his favorite game, and so I was like, oh, I'm definitely gonna play this, you know.
That's okay. I had a crush on a guy for liking Resident Evil 5. I'm not joking.
Really?
So that's fine. Oh yeah, Matt.
So
I still think about Matt sometimes. All he had to say, yeah.
This
so
is the same guy. This is the same guy that I got into WoW for. So
me?
Yeah.
I was asking in my head that because you had told me that happened with WoW, and I was wondering if there was like different guys, like you got into Kingdom Hearts.
Oh no, a lot of it was the one guy. Well, this is what happened. Like I was like crushing on this guy really hard. He was actually a good friend of mine at the time. But so I was like, oh, he's really into these games. I guess I'm gonna be into these games now. So I would play them, and then the enjoyment of it really superseded like the interest in the person. So, so yeah, I was kind of ashamed to admit that that's how I got into some games.
That's okay. I applied at a job just because I thought someone was cute that worked there.
Did you get the job?
That's like a
I
normal.
did.
How did that work out?
Oh, I'm you know me. If I like you, I'm just like I only applied for this job because I thought you were cute.
Is that what you said in the interview?
No. But I'm sure they knew. But okay, yeah. So that is I knew some of that. But one of my favorite stories is how you got your handle, your username, SugarMellie. Can you tell everybody else how you got the name SugarMellie?
Sure. So, I think a few of you guys know this, but years ago I went on a long backpacking trip with a couple of friends of mine, and we decided to go to Australia and just go backpacking throughout Australia. The plan was to stay there a year because at the time, I mean, I think you could still do this, but you can travel in Australia for up to a year if you are like between the ages of 18 and 30. You can apply for what's called like a working holiday visa. So you can actually work within the country up to 6 months, like at 2 different jobs. So essentially you could stay for like up to a year. And just kind of travel and work your way around Australia. So I did that with a couple of friends of mine. We're like, that sounds amazing. Like, we have all this money saved up. Let's just go on this trip. So, so I was like in Australia, and one of the things that you kind of pick up when you're there is that Aussies like to shorten everything, like name-wise. So, like sunglasses become sunnies, or like they call toast sandwiches toasties. Like just random stuff. So they will literally shorten everything and just add IE to it. And so, like, my name is Melissa. People for years have called me Mel, which is kind of weird to talk about in this. Like, I think Morgan's actually the only one who calls me Mel. Like, here, most people call me SugarMellie. So my best friend, she started calling me Mellie while we were there. Nobody had ever called me Mellie before, but because she's like, this is what the Aussies do, I'm going to call you this. So while we were in Australia, she started calling me Mellie. And so we always joked that so I'm a musician, and if I ever started a band, the whole joke was like, if I start a band, we'll go back to America, it'll be SugarMellie Van Halen. So that was like the ongoing joke that we had. So that was going to be my stage name, was SugarMellie Van Halen. So when I came back, I just dropped the Van Halen and started using SugarMellie as a handle. So, but it was because of Australia.
I've
I
always
love
loved your
that.
screen name, and I thought it couldn't get any better right up until I found out you made the terrible mistake of dropping the Van
Van
Halen.
Halen. I mean, I think it's still available on Twitch. I could rebrand, and I'm not opposed.
Yeah,
Or it could be.
do you ever
it could be my
regret
music
dropping
channel.
Van Halen?
Sometimes I lie awake.
Imagine
at night.
having to log
Regret
in
it.
with that every day, though.
SugarMellie
SugarMellie
Oh
Van
yeah,
Halen.
that's true.
That'd be
Yeah.
hella long. So speaking
Streaming's
of
become
Twitch and
human.
rebranding.
Exactly. Streaming's
Uh,
become
Oh yeah, exactly. So what brought you to Twitch in the first place? Like how did you find Twitch? Like how did you stumble your way on here? And what was like the first game or streamer that really got you coming in and returning and using the site?
Stop singing Disney and start. Yeah, exactly. So I got into Twitch because there was a season of time where I was basically like no-lifing Last of Us factions. I would play that game all the time, the multiplayer for The Last of Us. The Spinachees become human. Yeah, so I just would play it nonstop, and I was like, man, I really need to get better at this game because I keep getting wrecked. So I would like look up gameplay and just want to watch other people playing it just to kind of pick up strats and figure out like how to get better at it. And so that's actually how I found Twitch, because I was like, I think at first I was looking at YouTube videos. I'm like, these aren't helpful. So then I was like, I didn't even know what Twitch was. Like I just was like looking for Last of Us gameplay, and then I found some streamer or something on Twitch. And I was like, oh, this is like really cool. I didn't even know this was a thing that people like live stream these games. And so I initially got into it because I was just wanting to improve gameplay. And so I got into it for a game. And
I didn't know you were a sweater. You put your
I just-
sweatband on,
I
start
just
playing
didn't-
Last of Us Factions.
Yeah, I didn't want to. Well, I was like, I need to stop dying, and I need to get better at this. With my pay to win guns, you know.
She kept going to YouTube and it just said "get good," and she's like, "Why can't I find
No,
scratch?"
but literally, that's what happened. It was like
Yeah.
when you kind of like try to dig around and find advice. Everybody's like,
or
just
with Factions it says
plan.
"pay to win."
Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, I really got into it because of The Last of Us. So and then I started following certain streamers. You being one of them. That's actually, I think, what was that? No,
We
That's
almost lost her.
because
Trevor.
yeah.
I didn't do
Um,
anything.
You did. Yeah, but yeah, that's how I initially got into Twitch, just as like a viewer, because I was like, I need to get better at this game. Help me, internet.
Okay.
So,
It's so weird to think, like, as someone that's been using Twitch for so long, that people can still just, like, casually find it, if that makes sense. You know,
Yeah.
I think, like, with Amazon owning them and the way that they advertise on, like, Amazon's site and other sites, it's such a crazy concept that there's still people that are unfamiliar with it, to me.
Yeah.
And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that I use it every day and have for so many years now, but it is so interesting to me that people still can like just stumble upon it one day, just like accidentally, you know?
oh my god, Samurai, I hate the tactical shotgun. I
The-
just,
Oh my!
I just use Frontier Rifle,
So,
which is just as toxic.
Melly, I was wondering actually, and it's almost a little bit like Ice Dragon's question about Firefly. That reminded me. I was actually curious because you're obviously you're a fan of like TV, and I know you're a fan of film and stuff like that. You've talked about it like a bit before with me. I'm just curious, like about like some of that sort of stuff that inspired you, like about like Firefly and how you discovered like Joss Whedon, how you discovered your love of film. Was it prior to your love of video games? Like, has that been like a long running thing?
I would say yeah. I think I started, you know, because you grow up loving movies, and you grow up, you know, what you know, what you like.
Loving what?
What?
I heard that
What
too.
did-
Okay.
What did you think I said?
I thought you said I grew up loving boobies.
Of course you.
I heard movies for
I
what
heard
it's worth. I
That's
don't.
because you're wholesome, Rory. That's because you're wholesome. Trev and I over here were like, yeah, us too.
Well, I mean, I mean,
Thank
who doesn't love boobies? Who doesn't love boobies?
Okay, thank you. See, it's not just us.
You're. I think it's like a Rorschach ink blot test. You just hear what you want to hear, but just like audio. What was the question? Look at Rory trying to have an elevated discussion about.
I was just curious about like,
I didn't do anything. You're the one that said you love
because
boobies.
like I didn't like as a streamer. Obviously now I play a lot of video games, but for years, like up until I was probably like 24, I was someone who basically only watched movies and TV and had one or two video games that on the side that I was really passionate about. But like movies for me were always like first until like
Yeah,
recently.
and I
Were
think
you kind of
too-
the same way because you didn't grow up gaming as much?
Right, yeah. So movies, I was definitely way more into television and movies and books as well. I don't read anymore though, so you know, gaming has taken over. But yeah, I just remember it started I think in college where I started to think about movies more critically, and I got like more interested in film critique and like that kind of side of it. So not just oh, I like this movie or whatever, but like actually trying to learn from other people's experiences and
Sure.
interpretations and perspectives of film. So, oh yeah, I quite enjoyed the cinemas.
Does gaming like for you, like do you have as much of a problem scheduling it as I do? Like I find I'm watching less movies by far than I used to because like streaming and gaming has taken over such a hold on my time.
Yeah, I feel honestly
You're ruining my questions, Rory.
Wait, was this are
That
these
I've written down. Go ahead, Sugar, and then I'll continue.
I think like the best season of me watching movies was actually when I had a movie pass. I got gifted that for Christmas a couple years ago, and I would go to the movies like 5 or 6 times a month, which I know that like on paper that doesn't sound like a lot, but it actually is quite a bit.
If you think about if you were paying it like normally, what is that, like $80 a movie a month?
A month.
Yeah.
So I mean, I loved it, and like that was actually the season where I started being okay with going to movies by myself, because I've always viewed movies as like kind of more of a social thing, like you get to hang out with people to do it. But with the movie pass, I was like, I don't care, I really want to see this movie, and I don't care that I'm going by myself, so I would do that all the time, just if I were interested in something. And then also like really got into listening to like film podcasts and that kind of thing. So. You're not wrong.
So
reset the counter.
Speaking of the amount of time, that you've been using Twitch and streaming, what was your deciding factor to actually start streaming yourself and stop being a viewer? What was like that deciding factor? What was the draw for that for you?
I think part of the reason so yeah, I started off on Twitch obviously as a viewer, and then like got modded in a few channels, so I started like kind of getting a little bit more involved, and so obviously I went from like a casual Twitch viewer to like it was something I just did every day, and it was like a regular part, and I think I just realized I was like I like the idea of gaming and like being able to share that experience from the streamer side. Like I was like realizing like I was kind of just excited by that idea, and so I just decided to just try it out to see if it was something I enjoyed doing, and I just kind of went for it, and started streaming direct from my PS4, which Morgan was there for my first stream.
Yep.
But it was not like great quality. Like at my previous house I had really terrible internet, and like so I used to live like in a studio above a garage, and for some reason the way the internet was wired there, like we weren't able to get like a LAN like cable, so I was streaming off of Wi-Fi off my PS4. So that's like those were like the early days.
That's exactly how I started as well.
Really?
Yeah.
You streamed off of Wi-Fi too? Okay,
Mhm.
that makes me feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
But Morgan was there like for when it would like drop and like I'd like
Yeah.
stress out and like the quality is going down. I'd have to.
So
like,
you felt like
restart it.
more involved in the community, and you felt that maybe streaming yourself would even build that higher, essentially, from
Yeah, I
following
mean,
it?
it's like I just really enjoyed playing games, and I was just like, I'd love just to be able to share that from the streamer side. So I guess so, yeah.
And how has streaming changed the genre of games you play? Do you think that because you stream now, most of your gameplay, do you think that's changed like the type of games you play, the genres you play? What kind of change has that made for the games you're interested in?
Oh gosh, like
I know it's
feel
a
like
loaded question.
No,
but...
no, yeah, no. I feel like it's completely changed my gaming. Like for instance, I feel like I've been challenged to play games I normally wouldn't play or try. Like for instance, I think the Soulsborne games are one thing I'd always kind of been casually interested in, but I feel like it's hard to be casually interested in Soulsborne games.
Yeah.
You have to, like kind of commit to them. And so I remember, like for me, Bloodborne was like one of the most challenging games I've ever streamed, and I remember kind of being a little scared to do it, but I was like, everybody says this game is amazing. I really want to try to play it. And so I think I remember I even messaged you like I think maybe 3 or 4 streams into it, and I was like, I don't know if I can do this anymore.
Yeah,
because
no,
I was like, this is really tough, and like I don't, I was like wondering if, should I just maybe stop playing this or finish it? And I remember, I think your advice was like just to do what you feel comfortable doing. Like if you want to stream it,
if you're happy playing it, stream it. If you're not happy streaming it, don't force yourself. Nobody's going to be happy. You're not going to be happy. Your audience isn't going to be happy.
Yeah, because that's kind of a thing. It's like we're all we all stream, so we always feel like that there's this kind of like pressure to finish a game that you start.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought like if I started a game on stream, I had to finish it. Like I was obligated to finish it. And so that's why I was stressing out about it. And I remember when I messaged you and you're like, you don't have to. Like if you don't want to, you don't have to finish it. I was like, oh yeah, you're right. That's right. I don't have to. And
Yeah.
I think like having that mental like pressure of, ooh, I don't have to do this. Like then I immediately was like, but I'm gonna do it. You know what I mean?
No one's ever going to give you shit for not finishing it.
except Trevor.
Yeah,
Whoa.
and only Neo.
Which is what it is right now.
For the record, Trevor is giving me shit right now in the chat for not finishing Prey.
Now on that, I can talk from my own personal experience that like from streaming for so long, I definitely have changed what I play and what I have time to play. Are there any genres or particular games you miss playing that you feel like you can't play anymore because you are a streamer?
I don't. I'm like looking at my library over here, trying to think. I think I've gotten a little bit better about like making sure I'm playing things off stream and not feeling like I have to stream every single thing that I play and enjoy.
Yeah.
So like for example, like Animal Crossing. I'm just recently got into Animal Crossing. And I don't feel like I need to stream that. It's just something I like enjoy playing.
Yeah.
In the morning and in the evening and like throughout the day. Like literally now that's like the first thing I do when I wake up and the last thing I do before I go to sleep is just play Animal Crossing. But like that again, that's
turnip prices.
What? Oh, I didn't realize like I need to up my turnip game. I didn't realize like how
much money you can make from it is crazy.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I sold too soon though, because then I didn't realize the turnips can get up to like 340 bells.
I've seen them go to 750 supposedly.
What?
Yeah.
Oh,
The max that they can go to is 800.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I was just stressed out because like
if you made money, it's good.
It was like 54, 68. So as soon as it jumped up to 129, I was like, I'm selling.
That's not bad. Honestly, that's not bad as long as you made money. And so I'm sure a lot of people here know this, but you're actually a very talented musician who plays instruments and has a beautiful voice, and you do occasionally stream that. How do you feel Twitch is lacking in highlighting things outside of just chatting and gaming? Like, I know personally as someone that does like cooking and I've dabbled in ASMR, they almost have a lower view count for those things outside of gaming and just chatting, as well as they don't represent them, I think, in my opinion. Why do you think that is, and how do you think they can change that?
Well, I almost feel like on Twitch specifically, it's probably like a catch-22. Like, it's like supply and demand, right? Like, Twitch is primarily a gaming platform. Hey, Kaiser! Also, I want to answer Megan's question at some point, so I'm making a mental note to do that. But I think, like, so Twitch is primarily a gaming platform, and so I think it's awesome that they like it's a place that you can stream all kinds of things. But I think because that's what people primarily come to it for, like I know that they've been trying to push music for a while, and I'm actually intrigued to see what happens because I think coronavirus is going to change a lot for music. It already has. If we had this discussion like 2 months ago, I think the answer would actually be a little different than it is now. Just to see like all the artists that like have had to cancel tours because we're probably not going to be getting concerts through 2021, 2022 or whatever, that they've been forced to visit streaming platforms as like a way to connect with their fans and a way to potentially make up for lost revenue. And so I think that I don't know. I'll be really curious to see what happens with music over the next year, specifically on Twitch. Like even your guy just joined Twitch.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, Anthony Green.
I call him your guy.
Yeah.
I mean,
I love Anthony Green.
I can keep calling him your guy, Anthony Green.
Yeah, Anthony Green's fan. You can call him my guy whenever you want.
Yeah.
But he like follows me on Twitter.
Wait, does he really?
Yeah.
He follows you on Twitter? And Troy Baker?
And Troy Baker follows me on Twitter.
Wait, when did he start following you on Twitter?
Oh, years ago, but he follows like so many people.
Oh, is he one of those?
Troy Baker's a bigger deal.
But just the fact that you have so many artists now that are like starting to use Twitch as a platform just because there's no other outlet. I don't know. I feel like there's going to be a lot of changes coming and a spiked interest in Twitch as a platform.
Now, I mentioned this to you earlier with it. Do you think that a lot of the heavy gatekeeping from viewers that this is specifically a gaming only platform is one of the reasons why we haven't seen much growth in those other categories? Or do you think that
Um,
Twitch doesn't take into account for those type of viewers, and that's why?
Are you saying like on like for instance if they're highlighting things on like front page, like why would
They're
like,
not going to highlight things that they feel like are going to cause some blowback on them. Like,
yeah, and I think that's the thing though. I think right now obviously they are obviously it is a company, so they're trying to maximize profit. And so right now if that's where primary I don't know. I think if the demand increases, they will supply, if that makes sense.
mhm.
So it is kind of like a catch-22. It's like, do you if they do promote and push it, they have to do it in a certain amount where it's going to make fiscal sense to them. So, but and that's why I think that, like, again, like I think with quarantine and COVID right now, I think it has already been increased demand. I was actually kind of looking things up, but I didn't realize that like Bands in Town and SoundCloud had partnered with Twitch. So they
Yeah,
kind of
that's why
basically
we've seen so many musicians right now
right.
pop on.
So basically, obviously all of us like that are kind of newer streamers, we had to go through the affiliate process to start like generating income and revenue through Twitch. They basically are fast tracking like, so there's certain like criteria that you have to hit if you're on SoundCloud and if you're on Bands in Town, and if you already hit that, you're going to be affiliate right away, and you don't have to build the numbers up and build the streaming days up like on like the way that we typically had to do for affiliate. So I think them really trying to support indie artists, I think, is a really good move. And I think it's, we're kind of like all indie artists, you know what I mean? And so I think that yeah, I think it's a great outlet for people that don't necessarily have like record labels or that kind of platform quite yet. So
Yeah, well, to just touch on that, we were talking about Anthony Green, who's my favorite artist and just started streaming on Twitch. All his tours got canceled. And so Twitch hit him up, and was like, if you want, you can start doing this. And it's really, for me as a fan, amazing to be able to just give them $10, the price of like, a ground floor ticket. Usually it's much more expensive than that. But
yeah.
a $10 tip for a ground floor ticket, and they're making up the cost of all the money that they lost, and they're still able to sustain making new music and stuff. So I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, most artists, they're not like making money because of recording anymore.
No, they
like,
don't.
we're
I
not-
mean,
yeah,
there's a
no,
huge stat that shows they make no money off of new songs. It's all about tours.
The tours is what makes artists income, and so to lose that, like, they really are losing a lot of income. And so at least for now, like, if you're already a successful musician and you can kind of build a following on Twitch, you're gonna hopefully do pretty well financially, especially if Twitch kind of hooks you up a little bit. So
Yeah. But I wanted to continue off that. Do you have any plans to upgrade your stream setup for more music streams, upgrade your stream, or have any special things going on, like getting a brand new PC, changing your audio for that kind of content?
yeah, actually, one of the first things on my list, I want to get a mixer, so I can actually like stream like multiple instruments. So like one of the things that I play, sometimes I've played guitar like on stream, but I actually haven't played piano a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
I have like an electronic keyboard that I was like wanting to hook up and play, but I can't. It's all digital, so I can't like play it the way I can just like pick up a guitar and strum it into a microphone. Like I have to actually have everything running through a mixer. So that's like one of the first things I already actually have it in my Amazon cart. I'm just kind of like
waiting on it. Yeah.
And that's another thing too. Like I do want to upgrade my computer. As many of you know, that like I can't run a lot of newer games. Sometimes I have streaming issues because my PC is a little bit outdated, so it definitely needs to be upgraded. So I'm like ready to pull the trigger on all this. I have all these. It's just like it's a weird time right now with like between me moving recently and then like financial future is a little shaky right now because
it's okay. You got a $1,200 check coming. You'll be fine.
Yeah, I might need to use that.
You don't have to worry about a thing.
So, but yeah, I'm definitely at the point where I have to make some upgrades. But that's the thing. Like, I want to do more music streams. Like, I think and not just do like covers and karaoke, but actually to like do some of my original music that I have written. And like I think Twitch is a great platform. So I used to actually be in a couple bands. I would play like shows live, and I did a lot of solo stuff for a while, and I got really tired really quickly of doing gigs, just because and I'm sure like Rory knows this, like being a performer, like it's it's so much work to get gigs. It's so much work to get shows set up, to get sound equipment set up, to all just to play like 30 minutes of music, like the 30-minute set, it and then you have to like promote it. Like when you're just trying to get your own stuff out there, it is a lot of work. And I just found like it was tough to keep doing that and also like have a full-time job, and then also make time for like family and friends and personal life. So I like made the decisions like several years ago. I was like, I'm just not going to do, like, I'll do shows every now and then, but it's not going to be a thing which I was doing before, which is trying to go out every weekend and play somewhere live.
Now, weird
shows are
question
also
for
late, and they can be exhausting in that regard.
Yeah,
If you have a job,
it's draining. Like I got to the
from
point where I was
Friday.
like, and for very little, like, sometimes you work so hard to put a show together, and then like, 5 people show up, or like you're in an empty room, and it's just it can kind of get a little demoralizing after a while. So I was like, I'm not gonna put all this effort into it. But that's like why Twitch is great, because it's like it could be like this creative outlet where all I got to do is like plug in stuff to my computer and just go. And I don't know, and like more people have shown up for Twitch streams, I feel like, than for like live shows that I've done. So it's like there's always going to be like a couple dozen people, and it's like it's great just to be able to share. That's all I care about, is just sharing music with people who listen, or who would enjoy it, and so when you do enough shows and you're like in a crowded bar or like a coffee shop, nobody's paying attention. It kind of messes with you a little bit. You're like, why am I even
instead of
doing
being background noise, people are actually paying attention to the words coming out of your
mouth.
mouth.
I love performing live. Like there's nothing like that. Like I think when you actually can perform and share music and people respond to it positively, like it's like there's no high like it, I feel like. But also when it doesn't, I don't know, when it doesn't do that, it's also like tons of work, and you feel like it's a lot of output for very little what you get back. It can be a struggle, and that's true for every music. Anybody who's ever done music, this is a normal thing. So I just kind of got to the point where I was mentally like, I don't know, I don't think I want to do this anymore. So
now as a non-talented pleb, I want to know, just like we have, streamers have games that they play off stream as like their downtime and their fun. It's not like, work or whatever. Now, would you say as a musician, you have some downtime where you don't want anybody to listen and you just kind of want to like play by yourself for fun? Or is it always like, if I'm going to be doing this, I want to share it?
I think, it's interesting. I feel like there's a lot of parallels between gaming and music, specifically, like, so, I mean, this kind of goes off that question Megan asked earlier, like, how do you decide what you want to play off stream or on stream? To me, music and gaming, it's all about like shared experience, and that's why I love Twitch so much, because you're getting to share an experience, like an aesthetic experience with other people. And so I feel like when I have with a game, it's like, oh, I want to share this with other people, like I will stream it. And if it's something that I kind of just want to do for myself, I won't. I'll just kind of keep it for me. Something I could just kind of be quietly play. But most of the time, I'm like, I want to play this with people, because I think it'll be really fun. And it's the same thing with music, like, and that's why, like, the same thing with like songwriting. Very rarely will I write a song and I'm like, I don't want anybody to hear this. I mean, if it's crap, I don't want anybody to hear it. But if I actually think it's something that's good and worth sharing, it's not going to be like, ooh, I wrote this really good song, I'm not going to tell anybody about it.
Yeah.
Like if I write something and I'm like, I immediately like, I want to share it. I want people to hear this. Like it's something that you like, want to put out there for other people.
Yeah. It's a different form of like creation, but the same exact concept.
Right. Yeah. And I think to me, that's why Twitch has been so great, as just like, not just, it is a creative outlet. It is a creative outlet. whether that's, and you know that from like gaming, whether it's gaming or cooking or coloring or
Bye,
Yeah.
Trev.
like
oh,
Trev went to go eat, I'm pretty sure.
okay.
Yeah, I think he did. He just forgot to say it.
Well, I want to pick your brain. Well, I wanted to pick your brain on those things because, like I said, I'm not a musician. I have like the reason why I'm a streamer is because I have no talent. So like I just wanted to
Big
actually
disagree on that.
Yeah.
It's called humor. Let me be stupid, Rory. No, I just want to, because I find it fascinating for someone who like we idolize as a society people that are musically inclined. Like that's just because like a lot of times those are 99% of the time those are born talent, and like not everybody has those talents. So I find it very fascinating, which is why I wanted to touch on them. But I did, in order to kind of like finish up and bring it back to the gaming aspect, I wanted to discuss with you what your thoughts were on the most recent releases of the games that have been coming out. And double question, the pushback of the ones that aren't coming out.
Oh wait, okay.
Specifically.
Which part of the? Dang, girl, you coming out guns blazing with like these.
I told you but this morning I was like, I'm gonna ask some real questions up in here. But yeah, so I want to know. We can start off what your first thoughts are. The most recently released games we've had, Ori, the Will and the Wisp. We've had the new Halo re-release come out. Obviously, Resident Evil 3, which you've been playing. You've watched some of Final Fantasy 7. There's been a lot of Doom Eternal, which I know you haven't done, but like, what have you thought of all the different games that have come out recently, right now? Like, what are your thoughts with end of generation consoles and waiting for the next graphics update for? Like, what do you think of these games?
It's like a great time to be a gamer. I feel like there's just so many huge games that I think highly anticipated games, that have come out. I mean, you're talking about like I'm looking at Morgan, Animal Crossing. Like she's been waiting for how long? How long has she been waiting for this game to come out? I know you've been waiting on Final Fantasy for years.
Yeah,
Ash. And honestly, like it has been so enjoyable, like watching you experience this game. I want to play it now. Yeah. I think also just like watching you enjoy it is like, and then also it's just like a stunningly beautiful game. Like my jaw is dropping. And then like just watching like the visuals, and also like the music is incredible. Like I said this earlier, but like I have no emotional attachment to Final Fantasy. Like I didn't grow up with my only knowledge is
how could you? You've only played Kingdom Hearts.
Listen,
the 99-cent store version of Final Fantasy.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not taking it back.
You're such a snob. Kingdom Hearts is great.
Morgan also loves Kingdom Hearts, so you gotta watch out. Morgan wields a lot of power around these parts.
I love
just like, because you love something, don't make it good.
But here's the thing. I probably should have played Final Fantasy immediately after. And I actually did buy Final Fantasy. I found it the other day. I think I found I bought a couple Final Fantasy games after I played Kingdom Hearts. I just never bothered to play them. Because my favorite parts of the games were the Final Fantasy characters that show up. And I was like, who is this Cloud guy? He's like super cool. Like,
yeah, he was cool in Kingdom Hearts 1. Yeah.
And so I was like, oh my God, he's so OP. Like, I want to, so I just remember thinking, wow, these characters are really cool. I have no idea who they are, but they're so awesome. But again, so like I really have no emotional attachment, no nostalgia tied to Final Fantasy. And just watching those opening credits, I was like crying because of how beautiful the music was and how beautiful the visuals were. I was like, it's genuinely moving. And so I don't know what voodoo they're doing with the music, but it's
genius.
Yeah.
Genius.
Yeah. For someone who has no nostalgia to it, to be immediately moved. Like to me, like I always appreciate when like whether it's a film, a game, anything can like move me within the first 5 minutes of it. Oh, I love that.
I'm really excited to get it.
And then finally, the last part of this question is, what are your thoughts on the pushback to like Cyberpunk, Last of Us.
Okay, the Cyberpunk thing. What I heard it briefly. What's going on with Cyberpunk? Is it?
So they originally had a release date, and it now is completely. They're like, no idea.
Indefinitely postponed.
Indefinitely, we have no estimate. Might not be next year or the year after. They have no fucking idea right now. Is kind of how they're putting it. And then Last of Us is next year.
Yeah.
Supposedly. I'm doing air quotes.
Honestly, I'm stunned they didn't delay Final Fantasy. Like,
if they did, it would never come out. No, that's just. I mean, at this point, that's where it would be.
You think they knew that?
Like, honestly, what they probably would have done was just delayed it and then just made it into the full game.
Which would be.
Eric says, "Wait, I thought Cyberpunk was September."
No, they pushed it back.
My sweet summer child. Yeah.
Yeah, and Last of Us. Yeah. So, what are your thoughts on it? As someone who is a fan of The Last of Us, are you surprised? Are you annoyed? What are your thoughts? Because I definitely have opinions on this. Eric and I have discussed this many times. But I'm gonna let you answer, and if I agree or disagree, I'll totally chime in.
Here's the thing. Last of Us 2 specifically, obviously I want this game to come out soon because I want to play it. It's something that we've been looking forward to for a really long time. It's Last of Us is my favorite game of all time, and so obviously this is highly anticipated just personally for me.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that the decision to delay it was 100% Sony and not Naughty Dog. I think Naughty Dog, they wanted to get this out. I think you can tell by Druckmann's conveyance of the information that this was something that they didn't want to happen. But I think it is a large global Naughty Dog.
Eric's getting upset.
Oh my goodness. Oh my god.
Well, you finish and then I'm gonna give you my 2 cents.
I think they realize it's a financial decision, 100%. I think this is a huge global worldwide launch, and I think that they ran the numbers and were like, if we release this now, it's not going to get the launch that it deserves, and also not the launch that's going to kind of generate the most money. I think they were probably presented with that reality, and the world being what it is. I think that it wasn't going to succeed the way that they needed to succeed, and that's why it was pushed. That's why it's been pushed back. I'm not happy about it, but I also want this game to do well, and I'm not 100% certain it would do well if they release it next month.
So I agree with you. I 100% agree. I think that if they're not ready, it needs to be perfect. I don't want to. It's my favorite game. Last of Us is. I don't want to see the sequel to it fail.
Do you believe it when they say that it's pretty much done and they're just working?
Absolutely not. I don't believe that because, okay, so we see the trailers for Last of Us 2. Phenomenal. It looks like an even more mature, brutal version of the game that we fell in love with, which is obviously very popular. The fact that it is a sense of realism instead of these goody two shoes, law-abiding characters. We have real hurt characters that are willing to fucking kill anybody for their loved ones, and we love that shit. We love it, right? HBO approaches Naughty Dog. They want to make a TV series based off of it. Now, what do you think will make more money? An HBO series or the sequel?
I don't know.
If it's anything like The Witcher, they might help each other.
Yeah.
The Witcher TV show has been huge for people getting into the video games, and the video games vice versa. Yeah.
So they see an opportunity. They're in the midst of making the new game, and they get caught up with the fact that they've been approached to make a TV series. A lot of the people that are on the team are now working on the TV series, so they pulled people, or they're working double time.
The thing is, they can't film a TV show in the middle of a quarantine, though. So, like,
But they can have people writing on it, writing episodes.
yeah,
Yeah,
I just
yeah,
think
Things
that
like
with that, but I just think that like they're not going to enter production with this year with it. Maybe I mean pre-production and writing.
2
for
weeks
sure.
before we find out about the delay, they announced the TV series. If that wasn't strategically done in order to help soften the blow that they know that they're not even close to being done, I don't know what else it is. Yeah, do I think it's totally possible that they're pushing it back because Sony wants them to? Yes. But also, too, if you look at The Last of Us, it was originally released 4 months before the launch of the PS4 and then re-released for double copy purchases a month later on the PS4 from the PS3. So I don't think it's because Sony wants them to have it launch on PS5. I think that I definitely think that COVID has a lot to do with it, 100%. You know, they probably thought they could be on schedule and then they weren't. But I think the approach of HBO wanting to have them start pulling people to work on the show itself, concepts, episodes, everything, I think took precedence, and that's why they are late. And I think that's why I'm more annoyed than like with Cyberpunk, uh, per se. But that's how I feel about it,
Well,
and I think it was
gotta-
very strategic
well,
to announce the show.
I got a question. So, like, let's say that let's say that Sony was like, "Hey, we're gonna go. It's ready. The product is ready. We're going to honor the original release date and just release it digitally." Like, say it is COVID and they can't get the physical copies and they can't get like distribution supply lines are all disrupted, and so they can't physically give people the copies that they need to. But it'll be available for digital download.
I would like to see the stats on like first. So I'll use Final Fantasy VII. I waited for my physical copy to come in through Amazon. I don't think that not being able to go to Best Buy or GameStop is going to stop somebody from either digital download or waiting for their Amazon. If I'm being honest, like I don't think that Final Fantasy lost sales because people weren't able to go to GameStop. That's how I feel about it. I don't think that
thing
that's a
is, though,
legitimate.
that like everybody in this like room like we're all like hardcore gamers, so like for us it's not going to stop us from getting a game, but I'm just thinking about those people that like casually walk through Target or Walmart and like
Yeah,
need those
that's
end
true.
caps to like be like, oh, maybe I would buy this. Do you know what I mean? Like there
Yeah.
are still tons of people,
No,
millions
I
of
don't
people
disagree with
that
that.
buy
I don't
games like
disagree with
that and aren't going to be like, oh, I'm committed to buying this. I'm getting this as soon as this goes live. Like that's us, but I think they know that there's a lot of other people out there who aren't going to necessarily pick up a game if it's not physically in a store. That's
I've definitely had a few people like from working at GameStop that I have actually like helped find games because of that. Because like maybe like I had this one woman that came in and she really liked like relaxing games and stuff, and so I told her about Animal Crossing, and she was like, "Well, this seems actually really interesting." I think I showed somebody else The Witcher one time, and they had never even thought about playing a game like that, and they got super super interested in it. And I feel like there are just sometimes some customers that might not really know about anything until like they go to a store and are like that see an advertisement or talk to an actual associate. So yeah, I definitely feel like that's part of
that
it.
can
too.
make it. That's how my dad discovered Borderlands. Was a GameStop employee. He told him about it. And he was like, "Oh, sick! All right, I'll give that a try." Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't have gotten into Yakuza if I mean, I was working at GameStop at the time, but I wouldn't have gotten into Yakuza until I had seen like one of the it was like the steelbook, and I was like, "Oh, this is kind of cool looking." And the thing about that steelbook is that it has a cover on it that when you pull it up, there's like a little cutout for the little like for Haruka, who's the main character, that like when you pull it up, it'll kind of like show a bunch of other stuff, but with her still in the middle. And I was like, this is a cool steelbook. And I looked into the game, and that's kind of how I got into it, was just by looking at a game on a shelf.
Yeah.
I mean, regardless of, I think that we have like a lot of, revolving theories about why it actually got delayed. I do feel for the employees that crunched so hard and worked overtime and probably sacrificed a lot of like mental and emotional health to get this game done for original launch date, and to suddenly be like, JK, like We don't know when this is coming
Yeah.
out. That's very
Yeah.
terrible.
Video game crunch as well is like sort of
Mhm.
become a news story over the past few years. It's like sort of like famously supposed to be quite brutal as well. So,
Yeah, my
Um,
brother worked for EA as a QA tester.
ooh, that position
I know
especially,
all about it. Yeah, I know all
especially
about
in
it.
QA. Yeah, that is
You can thank him for all the Red Alerts and Middle Earth games.
the
Going off of also because I think because I agree with both points on it too, because like I feel like the retail stores are better for hardcore gamers like us, where like I said, like we look at something all of a sudden we're like, this kind of neat looking, I'm gonna look into this. That was the same thing that happened with me with the Valkyria Chronicles series. Was I saw it sitting on the shelf and I was like, this looks kind of interesting. But also like with Animal Crossing, I can remember thinking right like a week before it came out, I was like, I mean, if the store's closed and I'm not able to get a physical copy of it, because normally I do go physical copy, that's just what I like to do. I still thought no matter what, I'm just gonna buy it digital, if anything. So I think for hardcore gamers, like that kind of stuff won't stop us. I think we will probably at that point just go, okay, if it really gets down to it, I'm just gonna buy it digital.
I mean, I prefer physical. I prefer physical, but I've only gone into a store to buy a physical copy of a game once in 5 years, and that's only because I don't need to. Like Amazon has been so good about delivering that like it just didn't or like I've bought direct off websites before too. Like like some collector's editions are only at like GameStop, but like I guess like for me, I think the excuse that they're worried about sales, this doesn't follow through, considering, I mean, Final Fantasy VII made record-breaking sales, and I feel like Last of Us would do the same. I mean, they may not carry the same type of people, but I think that the weight of the name is still there. So I just don't think that's an excuse. But I'm not mad at them pushing it back. Like I want it to be amazing. I just think that being more like, we bit off more than we can chew, like honest answers. I think an indefinite pushback would not mean the game is almost ready. Like if you're working out bugs, you'd be like, we're waiting for January, or Q1 execution is what we're looking for, or Q3 next year. If they were actually done, there wouldn't be an indefinite release date.
Yeah, I was kind of confused about that actually because I remember seeing that they said we're very close to finishing. Like that to me kind of feels like, okay, we're almost gonna go gold. We can put them on discs and have them be sold soon. I did think that was a little bit weird when they were like, okay, we don't have any release date now. Like I can understand if they're like, well, it might be like way going into 2020 or maybe even 2021, but they don't even have anything.
I agree. I'm never upset about game delays because I don't see a way that game delays ever make the game worse.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I agree with Ash on that. But yeah, it does seem strange that The Last of Us 2 has no more of a release date than The Elder Scrolls 6, a game that most definitely is not almost ready.
Well, and Shigeru Miyamoto, like he always says, a delayed game is how do you put it? I think he said a delayed game is someday a really good game. I'm paraphrasing here, but it's someday a very good game, but a rushed game is forever bad.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. And
that's actually a great example by Zippy, actually. The one exception I can think of is Duke Nukem Forever, where it being delayed meant that...
Eric, I'm the same way. I don't like the idea of digital because you're not actually buying a product, you're buying a license to buy a product. For me, I for the first time ever, I bought for a launch game, I bought a digital copy of Resident Evil 3. I definitely do not prefer that. I would have preferred to get a physical copy, but because of COVID, I'm like, I'm not going to go to a store, and I also didn't want to deal with the hassle of it possibly being delayed on Amazon. So I was like, why do that when I can just download it immediately? So that's the first for me. I always get a physical copy because it's the same thing. I don't like the idea of I don't actually own this product. It's just a license to use it.
I agree, and actually, this is like a good opportunity to mention GOG. Yeah, so if you guys also want to buy it, you want the convenience of digital, but don't want to feel like you don't own your game, then I highly recommend going on to GOG, which formerly stood for Good Old Games, and all the games there are DRM free. So when you buy it, you have the option of using their launcher, GOG Galaxy, which is quite good. I have to say, especially GOG Galaxy 2, which combines all your launchers. But you also have the option of just downloading an executable and all your game files right there. So, and you can do whatever you want with that. You don't have to use a launcher to launch it. You can just put that executable and all the files onto a USB stick, and that's your game. Now, I also like Ash and Melly and Morgan, and perhaps Trev, also really do like the physical game cases. Like, I wish,
I like looking at it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I like having it on our
She's like, I love the
Yeah.
smell of the steel.
Yeah, exactly.
I think as streamers too, like, the stuff we have behind us in our stream rooms to a certain extent may sometimes reflect like who we are and stuff like that. And it's fun to have someone come in and they see maybe behind me I have like a BioShock poster or something. So they're like, oh, you like BioShock. So there's like physicality does have something digital will never have. But if you're concerned about the licenses, I promise I'm not sponsored by GOG, by the way. I'm not sponsored by anybody, trust me. But like I
I think you're like
recommend
my only friend on GOG, Rory. I always know when you're online.
I think I'm everyone's only friend on
You're
GOG.
my only friend.
Like a bunch of people I know who I'm their only friend
Or
on
my
GOG.
only friend using it, I should say.
Yeah. I use it all the time. I use it for almost all the games that I stream these days. For the last 2 games I've streamed, those were exclusively GOG games.
Well, a great example of that for people that are like, oh, I don't have to worry about that. PT, the demo.
Oh my god, yeah.
Is a great example of that, where you download it and you had it, but if you like, let's say, took it off to like download something else on your PlayStation, it was gone for good because you didn't get to keep it. And then you're like, oh, that's just a demo. It doesn't really matter. But it is a great example for something if you really enjoyed it and you wanted to go back and play. You didn't own that, so it's gone.
It's gone. So yeah, if you like something and then Konami decides to start being Konami again and take it away from you, then maybe you want that thing. Like Ash, I'm really glad you brought that up because a lot of people think that could never happen because people
And it does. It does.
They use whatever. They're like, oh, well, it's PlayStation. They're not gonna do that. It's a big company. It's like they do that all the time.
And somebody else, I think Eric brought this up about the Wii. Yeah, the Wii games. If you bought your Wii games digitally, they gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and that is like that's really unfortunate because it's like, oh, I mean, hey, I spent kind of a lot of money on this, and they're like, sorry, what are you gonna do?
We're Nintendo. We don't give a fuck.
No, that's absolutely like can be a concern. I mean, look at what happened with Xbox Game Pass. I mean, there's a whole bunch of games that got removed off of Xbox Game Pass, and it's like, because I think Xbox Game Pass is actually a great service. It's really cheap, and there's a lot of stuff. But then it's like, oh yeah, Fallout 3 or whatever, Fallout New Vegas or what, I can't remember which one they took off.
Shenmue 1 and 2.
Shenmue 1 and 2, which is like one of the, it's great to, have that, digitally. I know you can also get it on Steam, but those are just gone now. And obviously we're familiar with this paradigm. Anybody who likes Netflix, and was working their way through Buffy or whatever, was like, oh, it's gone now.
Yeah, and see, that's kind of the issue that I have, because even though I know it would be interesting to have, like, something that's kind of like Netflix for gaming, where you could just click on a game and play it, like where you just pay for the like a $15.99 a month service, and you just have a bunch of games to choose from. Like that is really cool. But yeah, like what happens when you have like Uncharted 4? Like that's one of the games that I tend to go to when I just get bored, or even when I'm feeling sad sometimes. I'm like, I'm going to play Uncharted 4 because it makes me feel better. Like, that would suck, like, if I'm thinking, like, oh, I'm just going to switch over to Uncharted 4 and it's just gone now. It's like, how am I going to play this now? Like, and that's just really unfortunate, I feel like. So I don't mean to derail, but Megan did have a question earlier for Melly. Which was how do you balance between what games you play off stream and on stream? I just didn't want to forget about it.
Oh yeah, I did kind of touch on this earlier.
Yeah, she did talk about that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I can re-answer. I can re-answer it.
Can you both re-answer, and also can I get everyone else's take on that? Because I'm curious about this for everybody.
I mean,
actually,
she had another question too, and then go ahead and answer it.
Yeah, I kind of related it to the music thing, like that there are certain things, like it being a shared experience. Like there's lots of games that I would like to share with people. But if there's something that I just kind of want to chill out and play by myself, I don't have a problem with just playing for me. So, but it's mostly it comes down to like, do I want this to be a shared experience or not? And like one of the things that actually I didn't talk about this earlier, but Last of Us 2 presented a conundrum for me because it's a game I feel very strongly about and want to experience in the purest way possible. And I remember, like, I talked to Ash about this because I was like, I really want to see her play that game, but I don't want watching her play that game to be my first experience of it. And so I was like, oh, like crap, what do I do? Like, because I want my own experience to be the first time I play that game. And so, but we solved that problem by independently agreeing to play off stream.
Yeah, off stream.
Off
same
stream.
night.
The same night, and
we can talk about it.
And text each other as soon as we're done.
Yeah.
Take it easy, buddy. It was good to have you around. I look forward to seeing you soon.
Yeah. So like that game, I will 100% play it on stream, but I'm going to play it privately first because I just want to experience it pure.
Ash,
this one's for me.
I'm curious about, because you're such a variety streamer, you play so many different genres. Like, what for you determines a game you play off stream? Because you kind of stream everything.
Yeah. So, do you want business and personal answers?
Yes.
Because I can give you as like someone.
I didn't know
like,
business and personal were two different options for the answers, but just give me whatever answers you want to give me.
Well, I mean, as someone like I mean, this is how I feed myself. You know, like I don't have another job, so I always have to take into account the business and personal side to it.
Oh, right? I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Like, so when it comes to like business decisions with stream or games I stream and don't stream, right? A really great example is like Trevor knows this because Trevor's been around for so long. I streamed Siege 24/7 for like 2 years. 24/7 I played Siege, right? And I never liked FPS games, like up until that point. You know, like I love Battlefield 4 and I used to stream that and Battlefront and that stuff. But like I played Siege constantly and my community was built on Siege. And so I played that almost exclusively because my community was built on Siege, right? People came to the stream because they wanted to watch it. So it was like, well, if anything, I wanted to play myself, you know, like, okay. I think some of you guys know this. I'm a huge Naruto Ultimate Ninja fan. Like, I love those games. If I wanted to play Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm, it could never be on stream at that point in my streaming career. Because people weren't coming for those kind of games. They were coming specifically for Siege. You know? So using that as an example, it's like that's what you have to take into account, what your community likes. Now I'm very lucky that I have so many people that don't care. You know, like they'll just show up because they're there for like the family experience. You know, we're a community, we talk, we know each other. So like whatever I'm playing, it's more of like, let's just all hang out no matter what it is. So I'm very lucky in that instance. But there are still games that if I feel like people don't like them, I'm not going to play them. It's a big reason why now that I've taken the risk to do variety, I don't go back and play Siege because most of my community would prefer story-based games, whether it's a JRPG or action-based or anything like that. So that's like the flip of like what it used to be to now where like I wouldn't stream Siege at all because like people aren't there to watch that. They don't really enjoy that. There's no reason why I would do that. Now I'll use the Animal Crossing example that Sugar did. Why I don't stream Animal Crossing, even though I love it and I think that people would enjoy it, is because you know, I've been a gamer my whole life, like for as long as I can remember. I have a picture of when I was like 1 holding a NES controller with my dad. You know, like I've just always loved gaming, and if I only stream games that I play, like everything that I play, it's not fun anymore. You know, it's not my own personal experience. You know, like I play Animal Crossing in the morning because it's like my own little private time where I'm enjoying playing a game on, like, well, the Switch isn't technically a handheld, but like my handheld where I get to enjoy my private time with something that I really love personally doing. And if I stream Animal Crossing, it's not my personal fun anymore. It's like, and not that I don't love sharing stuff with people, but it changes the dynamic for my love for it. If it's not my fun time anymore and it's always work time. So that's why I have particular games, whether I think my community is going to love them or I just need my own like moments where I recenter and realize this is what I love. This is my hobby, not just my job, if that makes sense.
I think
That
when
makes perfect
when I like just continue to play games off stream, like it elevates the enjoyment on both sides. Like it's like it makes me enjoy the private times more, but then it also makes me even more excited to stream because it's like you can kind of keep those things separate. Whereas I feel like if you like, because I've kind of made this mistake before too of just feeling I the pressure of, oh, if I'm gonna play a game I have to stream it, like it immediately takes the fun out of gaming. Like if you feel that pressure, it makes the streams less fun because, and then it also makes like, you know, then you never get to have anything for yourself.
Yeah,
so I do think it's important to have things that you just kind of play off stream.
Are you you know, because sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you, but like I played RE3 like 6 times on stream this past week, right? And like one stream, I just sat and didn't talk during any of the cutscenes, and I was like, "Oh my god, I missed this dialogue because I was talking over it to keep people, you know, engaged." And that's a part of the job. And like, if you choose to play stuff by yourself, you're not going to miss those things. And I think it's really important, especially with games you're interested in, like The Last of Us 2, like for Sugar and I, you know?
Like one thing that I don't know if I've told anybody this that I've been kind of playing off stream is that I've been like quietly trying to get finally get the plat for The Last of Us. So it's like my favorite game, but I never platted it, mostly because like the hard trophies to get aren't the ones I don't have. It's like the tedious ones where it's like trying to find the Firefly pendants or the comic
secret
books.
Combos,
unlocking secret conversations. And actually doing that off stream has been great because like I feel like I'm experiencing the game in a new way. I didn't realize how obscure some of these optional conversations are. Like there's some of them you literally have to stand in a corner as Joel and not talk to Ellie for like 4 minutes and just stand in silence, and then the conversation will trigger. And it's like I never would do that on stream. Like because you would feel like, oh my god, I have to keep moving, or like
I need to do something.
Yeah, and so it's like the fact that like I just basically have to stand in front of this bus, be in silence, let Ellie walk around, let her like explore the area, and then she comes back to you and is like, want to hear a joke? And I'm like, oh my god, I missed it. I literally thought there was only like 2 points in the game where she would tell jokes. She tells jokes the entire game, but you don't know that unless you just chill in a corner and just kind of like let have
the environment sink in and stuff.
Right. And so I was like, I found conversations that I had never heard and didn't even know were like options. And this is supposed like a game I know inside and out, you know, and I've played, gosh, how many times? Like half a dozen times. But so it's been kind of like fun, just kind of like, and I feel like that kind of stuff is a little boring for people too. Like I don't know if people want to watch me like trophy hunt, but it's been like a nice little private time. Like every now and then I'll just hop on and kind of like check like my playthrough and like, okay, which collectibles and which conversations am I missing today, and just kind of like quietly like slowly making my way through that. So that's another thing. But yeah, I think it's really important to do that stuff off stream for sure.
Morgie's turn.
I guess it's kind of, I was just gonna kind of say what Melly said, just because, I tend to do, like, platinuming, like, for not a lot of games, but, like, for some games, like right now I'm just playing Persona 5 Royal, because I know it's a super long game, and, like, I don't want to make people sit through that again for so long, because I'm gonna be trying to do a whole bunch of the trophy hunting, like, in at least my first run of it. So I don't have to spend thank you for 426 hours trying to platinum it. But the other part of it too is that I feel like sometimes with me, there are some games I just don't want to stream, stream live for people, is just because I tend to walk around and I go to every single little corner of places just to see if I can find like a piece of lore or an item or a conversation or something. And I think sometimes like I just take too long playing games at that point. Like the Yakuza series, I walk around everywhere. Like I'll just take walks. Like when I was playing Spider-Man, sometimes like I would like just web sling through the city all the time, just doing tricks, or I'd just actually go down onto the ground and I would just walk, and I just listen to people. One of my favorite instances actually was on Infamous Second Son, and if anybody really knows me in here, they know that I never do the mean routes in any games because I can't do it.
I think I would cry if you did the mean routes.
Yeah,
in the
I
game.
just can't. I can't do it. And I was playing Infamous Second Son one time, and I was doing the hero route, and it was hilarious because my brother Lenny, he actually he had played Infamous Second Son as well, but he had only done the evil route, and he was watching me play a little bit of it when he was walking through the living room one day. It was a long time ago because it was when I first got my PlayStation 4, which was years ago, and I can remember just like walking through the town, and there were people cheering me on and stuff because I was a little bit further in the game. So at that point, I was more of a hero figure, and it was hilarious because there were characters being like, "Yeah, Delson, go Delson!" Like that's the main character's name, and just like saying like, "Yeah, Delson, you're so cool! Oh my god!" And I can remember hearing like two of my favorite lines ever, and it was just because I was walking around just doing whatever. I wasn't really playing the game; I was just walking. And for one thing, my brother said, "This is so interesting just hearing people talk because you don't do that in my playthrough. They just run and scream away, like they run away from me." And the two favorite lines that I heard was there was one woman that just goes, "I have a Delson tattoo on my ass." And then the other one was this dude that just goes, "No, I'm not gay, but for you." And I was like, oh my god. And so like especially since then, like I've been like that with all of my games where I'll walk around and just find tiny little things. I'll go everywhere. And I just feel like it takes too long if I were to stream a game like that. So there are some games that I just feel like I might want to spend more time on this. So I don't know if I really want to stream it, or it'll be a game that I've already played and already done that with. So then I can just kind of streamline it a little bit better. That's pretty much how I am with it, though. I take too long and I derp a lot, so that's why.
There's a lot of stuff happening in chat right now. Most of it is people arguing with Trev, but it all pales in comparison to the importance of a birthday of a very, very special person.
Happy birthday! Should we sing him happy birthday? Should we sing him happy birthday? I think we should do it.
Yeah.
Ready? Should we
Let's
count
go.
to 3?
Yeah.
We can try. I don't know if there's gonna be a delay.
It's gonna be delayed.
It'll
It's
be-
gonna be all over the
perfect.
place.
Ready? Okay. 1, 2, 3. Happy
Happy
birthday
birthday
to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Fairhurst. Happy birthday to you.
So, if you don't know why we just did that, Fairhurst is not only a viewer here, he is also a streamer, and he's a member of our wonderful stream team, True Variety, who Ash is the leader of. You guys should go watch Fairhurst. He has an excellent stream. He has an excellent voice. He's just an excellent guy.
He's got
Yeah.
an amazing accent.
Very nice guy. Oh, literally, he has the sexiest voice ever. He could do melee
He's a
ASMR.
Beautiful Scottish man.
Yes, very beautiful. Yes, happy birthday.
Besides that, yeah, Trev is arguing with people in the chat about Bayonetta. Trev doesn't like
Oh,
Bayonetta.
I wasn't
but people
arguing.
in the
They were
chat
arguing
do.
with me.
The Eric said Bayonetta is better than DMC5, which I think is, even as someone like me who likes Bayonetta a lot, and I mean a lot, I think that like is maybe pushing it. I like.
Trevor,
I
we
think
don't
that-
suppress opinions in this podcast, no matter
Look.
how unpopular.
Also,
I do what I want.
So I guess like Trev's answer to this question then would be, I don't stream games that I hate.
No, because that's a lie. I've streamed Bayonetta.
Yeah, he has.
he did. He streamed the whole of Bayonetta. Actually, that was your first time playing, right?
And he
I-
hated the entire thing.
I was totally justified. I think in my recommendation to Trev, it was the original people of DMC. So I was like, "Oh, Trev will love this," and he streamed it. And he was like, "I actually hate everything about this."
Hated Bayonetta?
Yeah, I beat it.
You liked the second one though, didn't you?
I don't have the second one. The second one's
The first
Oh,
one's
yeah.
the only one on PC.
Get Trevor Wii U. Get it Bayonetta 2.
Yeah,
Switch.
it's
On Switch,
Nintendo
on
exclusive.
Switch.
Or we can get it for him on Switch.
Oh,
You get both games for the price of one.
I wanted to make sure we didn't. This question might have gotten buried in the Bayonetta fiasco of 2020, but Normal Thug had a question about streaming. So so this is a question for all of us. He says, at this point in your streaming careers, so to speak, and with the followings or communities you developed, have you ever felt like streaming has become an obligation rather than a hobby or interest? Are there moments where you go, oh, I don't want to stream today, but I may be letting people down if I don't? Something along those lines.
Well, Melly, you should answer the question first.
I think I think right now I'm at the point where number one, I just have all this free time now, so it's like it's kind of almost like, what else am I gonna do? Like this is a fun thing that I enjoy doing, so let's hop on. I think I struggled with that earlier, like I mentioned, like Bloodborne, where you feel like you have to finish games or you have to do something. And I realized when I realized it's actually not an obligation, it's something that I get to do. I think that helped ease some of that pressure for me. And so there are times where you do feel like if it's been a few days and you haven't streamed, you're like, I don't feel like it today, but I probably should. There is that. And then, but I always get into the mood to do it. I think as soon as like I get, as soon as you go live, I have my music going and I get into it, then that quickly goes away. And like you guys know, you kind of like feed off the energy of people, you feed off the game, and so then even if you're kind of feeling like on the fence about it, I feel like it's really easy to get into the mindset once it gets going. So I don't know if that was like a complete answer, but
Ice Dragon, yes, apparently that is actually true. I only do play games with people whose name begins with T. I don't know what to do with that information that you've just revealed to me, but it's true.
Ash, what's your experience in the terms of like, do you feel like you're letting do you feel obligations? Do you feel like you're letting people down if you don't?
This is like such a loaded question. I have streamed so heavily before where like that's all I've done. Like where I wouldn't say guilty or like obligated is the right word, or like maybe letting down. Like that's not necessarily the feeling that I get when like on Monday. Usually Mondays I stream, but I did not feel good enough to stream. Like there was just like absolutely no way I was gonna stream and be like the best version of myself for my people. And I think that took me a long time to realize that when you force yourself to stream when you don't feel up to it, you're just making bad content. And like you're not doing anyone any favors by showing up when you don't feel good, and I will make up that day. Like the next day I did stream because I felt better, if that makes sense, because I wanted to make it up to them for the fact that I didn't show up on Monday. But my community, I don't know if everyone can agree with me, like with their own personal experience with this, but like my community is very understanding. I'm also very open with my community. Like I don't necessarily like, obviously I have no filter. Like I'll just say it like it is, and if I say I don't feel good, I don't think they've ever been like, oh, it's something, like they'll be like, oh, Ash doesn't feel good, because I do make sure that I stream. Like I stream every day at noon, like I make sure I'm there at least 5 days a week, and if I feel well enough, I'll stream on my days off because I want to be able to create great content, bring people together, so on and so forth. But I've never felt like now and today, like maybe earlier, like before when I first started streaming, I would feel guilty or upset that I didn't get on a day. Like upset is probably a better word. Like anybody knows that like when you have a community, you're like upset at yourself because you're like, oh, I should have just streamed, But now I've learned like if I don't feel well enough, I'm gonna say it, I'm a bitch. Like if I don't feel good and someone comes in and they're like, oh, trash titty content, like I'm be like, fuck you, virgin. Like, and then like I'm a mean person, and like I don't want to be a mean person. Like I want to just be nice and ban them and like forget about it. So like if I don't feel good, I just don't get on. You know, because I don't want to act like that on stream. You know? So
Or she just sends them to my channel.
I'm like, you know who's beautiful? SugarMellie.
Oh
You
my
should
God,
go over
freaking
there.
Ash.
But like
Ash-
I think now I feel differently. Like if I don't feel good, I just don't get on, you know, and I make it up when I do feel good. And that's something that everybody has to come to terms with when they're building their community and how they want to represent themselves and their content.
And I think that's to not do it that way, I think you set yourself up for burnout.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because then if you continue to set a precedent of, well, I really don't feel good, but I'm gonna do this anyway, I think that's a really quick way to kind of sap yourself of your passion and your energy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why I started taking 2 days off a week, because you feel like shit.
Those
And
are
anybody
kind
that
of like
makes
your
it
like
not
sick
work.
days too. It's like if you
Yeah.
you need to use them, you just use them.
You don't get sick days or paid time off. It's like if you're not, you know.
Absolutely. Sorry, that was like a probably more loaded answer than you wanted.
No, this
that's why they're here.
Yeah,
This
this
is
is
content.
what we do this for,
This
is
is
for
the real-
like
yeah,
in-depth
this is the
answers for
real-
things.
Usually we're talking about
authentic
some other
answers
bullshit
that we
that doesn't
want.
matter. But this time we're actually
We did a
talking
30
about,
like a
something.
30-minute segment on why Wendy's has square burgers. So
And
I think
again,
we're okay with
I
all
feel
that.
like it's different for me. I feel like it's different for me than it is for you, Ash, because this is your full-time gig. Like for me, this is still like a hobby and a thing I just do. I have a full-time job, still, you know, separate from streaming. And so for me, it's still like a hobby. It's a thing I enjoy doing on the side. So I'm not reliant as heavily on it, you know, like to eat, you know.
Yeah.
So I feel like the approach is
How do you think I keep Happy so fat?
I know. Where do you think that choke
It's
comes
your
from?
fault. Look at yourself.
It's
Go into the mirror and say it's your fault.
we ask, you ask long questions for long answers. Yeah. Anyway, I thought that was a good question, so I just
I agree.
That
No,
was
it's a great question. Yeah.
I kind of actually had a question for Mel. I mean, because I know we've kept talking about The Last of Us, but I don't know if I had actually ever asked you about it, because I just wanted to know, because I know Last of Us is your favorite game, and I kind of wanted to know like what your very first experience for The Last of Us was. Like, were you excited for it before it came out, or did you get into it after it came out? Like, what was your first experience with it?
So I didn't ever play it on the PS3. I got it on the PS4. It was funny because it was a game that my husband was actually really excited to play. I wasn't super into horror games at that time. Like I had played a couple Resident Evil games, but it wasn't like, I wouldn't say I was super into like horror or anything. But he was very excited about this game, and so he stayed up and played it for like 2 nights. I think he just like played it nonstop, and he was like, this is one of the best games I've ever played. He was like, you have to play this. I was like, I don't know. It's like, I don't know if it's my thing. I was like, it's got like, it's like scary stuff, right? And he's like, no, he's like, trust me. He's like, you're going to love it. Cause he knows me. Like again, like kind of like with video games, I got into horror late. If you had asked me like 5 years ago, like, do you like horror stuff? I'd be like, no, like I don't do horror. Then fast forward to like 4 or 5 years later, that's like almost all I stream now. But
she watches Hereditary in the background while having girl talk. It's totally normal.
Just a casual
casual girl talk with Hereditary in the background.
Yeah. Hereditary is what I watched when I was at Ash's house.
And full disclosure, these two are amazing because I'm not into horror movies, and every time there's like a Morgan, look away.
Yeah, Morgan, look away.
Yeah.
Close your eyes.
He's about to get decapitated, Morgan. Turn around.
Okay, again, I think this is where like I know you guys kind of like make fun of me or like appreciate the scream, but that's like it's because I'm like not used to it. Like
it's real.
Horror is like a new thing is a relatively new. I didn't, again, like with the games, I did not grow up like loving horror stuff. But like John was the one who really got me into all that. But anyway, he was the one who was like, you have to play this game. He knows me, like he knows the draw for me is good story and good characters. And so like I honestly at the time I could care less about like killing zombies or whatever, but I was like, it was almost like he was saying, it was like, this is like the HBO of video games in terms of like character development, good storytelling, like everything I love in like television and movies. He's like, this is in this game. I was like, are you
Did
sure?
you cry in the first scene?
Oh my god, yes. And that's why
Yeah.
okay. Like again, like I'm like kind of like an emotional person. Like if you can get, again, like this is, to me, this is a mark of that you got me. If you can make me cry within the first 5 or 10 minutes of your thing, whether it be a TV show, movie, game, then you got me. Like I'm in. But yeah, I definitely cried within the first 5. And I was actually upset with John. I was like, why? I was like, through tears. I was like, why did you have me play this? Like, I'm like an emotional wreck already, and we only been playing this for 5 minutes. And so, but I'm glad he kind of like, he gently like encouraged me to play that, because he's like, you're gonna love this. And so I did, and then I fell in love with it. I played it straight through next 2 or 3 days, and then immediately replayed it again because I wanted to experience it all over again. So yeah.
So my living room is right below this, and I can hear my mom playing Animal Crossing.
We can often hear Morgan's mom playing Animal Crossing. She's really embraced the game and like the whole thing, which is really good to see. Because like when Morgan got her Animal Crossing Switch, she gave her mother her old Switch, which is amazing. So she's just now gotten into a few games. She's been playing like Little Nightmares, and has also been playing Animal Crossing, and she played Untitled Goose Game.
Yeah, she played all the way through.
Did she?
Which was really fun to see.
After meeting your mom, I can say 100% she's an Untitled Goose Game kind of woman.
She'd probably appreciate that.
And that was really fun for us to watch, because we watched her play like quite a lot of it, and it was fun to see her like enjoy the humor and stuff like that and get into video games. I actually want to use that as a segue, which I wasn't planning to do when I started the sentence, but I'm now planning to do, because one of the things we do occasionally on this podcast is talk about some news things. We'll probably try to keep it brief because generally we end fairly soon.
Sorry, my bad.
I know I know that Mellie sent us a news article about people using Animal Crossing for like his like Tinder dates, and this is something like,
yeah, have you guys heard about this?
I find really interesting.
I was gonna post this in the chat, unless I don't know if you were doing this already. I got
this,
it. If not.
I completely actually get this, because of course me and Morgan are generally a long distance couple. So
the title
like movie dates from distance and stuff like that. So I totally get people doing stuff like this, and it's actually really nice to see.
The title of his article, reported by Polygon, it says, Animal Crossing fans are using the game for Tinder dates. So this article is actually talking about people have actually started putting Animal Crossing like in their Tinder profiles, and they're actually getting way more hits because of it, because everybody's playing Animal Crossing right now. So it's been like this like conversation starter, and then also like we can't actually like meet up and hook up or whatever, so they're just like meeting up in each other's islands. So that's how people are like, I don't know, that's how dating's going right now.
I love it. I actually think it's a great thing that this game is doing that for people.
So what kind of fruit would you have to get in order to want to go on a second date with someone? Like, what would he have to bring?
Well, actually, one guy,
that's what I want to know.
Like,
you know?
this one gamer was talking about, like, this one guy that she found on Tinder took a tour of her island, showed her, showed off like his garden with all the flowers, and was like, you could take whatever you want, whatever you need, and then he dropped 63,000 bells for her and was like, pay off your debts.
Did he drop his credit score too after that in the chat?
But then I don't think so. Like, I think she took the bells, but then she ghosted him. So that's also the risk too.
I need to make a Tinder profile. I have some debts to pay off. The fuck? So
Girl,
what?
I mean, you got to run that Tinder game now.
Yeah, Tom Nook is a crook. Okay, I owe him a lot of money.
Ash is like, BRB updating my Tinder profile.
Yeah.
But there's actually some. There's one person that has like specifically designed their island to be a spot for meetups. So like she's like made it so that there are like amazing date spots.
She's hosting
on the island. She's hosting date spots. Yeah, so she's like not even in there because you can't be in there when other people are there. But like it's like she's got like a festival going on, like a romantic like candlelit like area like in a garden. Like she's designed this whole island to be like date
Spanish.
central.
I have a heart lake on my island.
Are you gonna
I should
are you
do this.
gonna
Well,
are you gonna get into the Animal
Yeah.
Crossing date island game?
100 bells per entry, and then they can go fucking have their private convo by my heart lake.
I love this quote. So this one girl saying on a Tinder date, she's like, "We mostly did some fishing and got the apples he wanted." He got. So this is what dating looks like in 2020.
Someone said that some like businesses have like used it for meetings and stuff like that, which is also interesting. There was a story about a high school graduation that they're actually using Roblox because they're nuts. And I said to Trev, I said we should get Roblox and crash this graduation, and see what it's all about. Well, yeah, Roblox has become sort of a bit of a meme around some of our channels because people come in and like someone came into Morgan's one time and was like, "All right, do you play Minecraft? Do you play Fortnite? Do you play Roblox?" In like that order, and it was.
It literally went like this.
It was a beautiful.
So
thing.
they started off with like, "Do you play Minecraft?" And I went, "No, not really." Then they said, "Do you play Fortnite?" I went, "No, I don't." "Do you play Roblox?"
No.
Gary's mod, Ash. Thank you, Gary's mod. Oh,
Yeah, you're welcome.
I pity the people who don't remember. A friend of Ash, this is going to make you really sad. And I think Eric, this will probably make you really sad as well. And definitely Zippy. I was watching a friend's stream one time and he was streaming Half-Life 2. And so, like Half-Life 2 is of course incredible. One of the best games ever. And someone came in and they were like, "Is this Gary's mod?" And I was like, "This person needs to be banned from everything. Like I can't handle this."
I love when people ask me that shit. Oh god. Oh boy. The gaming world is fantastic.
It really is.
Something else.
Yes, that one indeed did make me sad. Yeah. Cater too. Yeah. Basically anybody in here who's 26 plus, that makes them sad.
Do you want to be even more sad?
Yeah, far away.
Jurassic Park is 25 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh.
Jurassic
Jurassic
you-
Park.
Didn't the first one come out in like
Great.
1995 or whatever?
True.
1990. Yeah,
Wait.
1995, I think.
Morgan was buying a train ticket one time. I don't know how many people know this story, but Morgan
you're
was buying
dating a
train
youth?
ticket to
Yeah.
visit me, and she's a youth by Canadian train standards. And I was like,
A
"Yo,
youth?
what? I'm dating a youth? No one didn't tell me that."
It was basically like it was anyone under. It was like 12 to 25 could get like a small discount.
How are
On the
those
video
the
reel?
same
You guys
category?
don't even have jobs! Why do
At
you have
12?
discount? The fuck?
A 12 and a 25.
I thought it was pretty hilarious. I was like, "Hey, look at this! Oh, my blanket's."
Oh yeah.
Giving
For everybody
my
who
age
thinks that
bracket
this is
away.
a just like a cover, it's not. It's a blanket.
This has also been the backdrop for all my meetings and presentations for the past month. So like I'll do like a video for students on like the midterm exam, and there'll be like this Link blanket and all these like anime girls figures behind me, and like I wonder what they think, but no one's asked any questions yet.
They don't want to get failed. That's why.
Do you think they'll laugh in your face when you say they're your girlfriends? Because
Yes,
I would. I'd be like, "Sure, bud, your girlfriend." Is the hentai pillow behind yours too?
I honestly, I don't mean to get off topic here, but like, I will never forget one time in Rory's stream, and like this was a nice kid and all, but like we were just sitting there talking and stuff, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go visit my girlfriend's," and he's like, "Ha, girlfriend," and he like lulled, and he was like, "Yeah, right," and he was like,
Yeah, he thought it was unbelievable that, I guess, a man on the internet playing a video game had a girlfriend. That was shocking to him.
I literally just went, "It me. I am your girlfriend."
People are
It was
so
interesting.
weird.
It was a bit weird.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
Oh, Zippy, I've been using my green screens in my work meetings too. It's been really funny.
Work
It's been real like like really funny to be the only one in these Zoom meetings, like with a with a gamer chair and the, the headset and the green screen.
Trisket. Boys on the internet can't have girls. We all
Also,
know.
I actually did want to know both Melly and Ash's take on this, because they are now going to, I'm pretty sure it's been like an actual announcement that Capcom is doing a remake, like an actual full remake, like RE2, RE3 on Resident Evil 4. What do you guys think about that?
By the time they remake all these,
Do
they're
you
gonna have
want
to
my
remake
opinion
all
on
of them.
I already know what Ash thinks. I'm gonna let
I
her
want
go
your
first.
full opinion.
You want me to go first?
Oh, right.
Or you want to go
She's gonna
first?
mention Code
I mean,
Veronica.
I feel like you're raring to go. So
Oh, I'm fired up. Okay.
let's go. Let's get into it.
All right. Okay. RE4 does not need a remake yet. There are titles in the Resident Evil franchise that need reworks. And it's really disappointing to me to see that CVX did not get a remake, considering it's the only title that does need a remake. Like, it's still on tank controls. Like, it's just Ari. Okay, so CVX is Code Veronica, Resident Evil Code Veronica X. So the only difference between Code Veronica and Code Veronica X is X was released on the PS2 and slightly enhanced from the original version that was on Sega. Just so we're all clear. CVX has probably one of the weirdest storylines ever. Like, it is so wonky, but it's also really well done and has some of the strongest puzzles in the series. It's interesting. You follow Claire Redfield again and Chris Redfield, and it's the first time you see them interact as siblings after wanting to see them after RE2, where Claire's looking for Chris, right? So Chris is coming back from Europe after all the shit that happens in Raccoon City, and he's finally reunited with Claire. So, like, it's all about that. It's absolutely a fantastic game. Like I said, it's still on tank controls. It's older than RE1 HD and Resident Evil Zero HD. Like, it needed to be redone. And I think that with the success of RE2 and how people just fell in love with Claire Redfield, it would only be fair to do a CVX remake. Now, to be fair, it would need a lot more work because, like I said, the story is very 90s. Like, the story is very 90s. So,
I think they should keep the original voice acting, though. I mean,
yeah.
Father! It's pretty,
My name's Steve!
My name's Steve!
My name's Dave! And he has this weird, like, Minnesota... It's so weird. But the game is really, like, it is 90s. But it's also fantastic. It's one of my absolute favorite in the series, and it's so well done. RE4, though, is going to make them the most money. Like, that was specifically because that is the title that really set them off in the 2000s for being like, oh my god, Resident Evil 4 is the best game ever made, blah, 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 blah. Even though RE4 is literally the reason why the Resident Evil series went to shit, because they switched over to the action style gameplay, which is why we had the atrocity that is Resident Evil 5. And then, like, I love Resident Evil 6, but it's not a great Resident Evil game. Like, I love RE6, but it's not a good Resident Evil game. And we only have RE5 and RE6 because of how RE4 was so popular as an action-based game instead of the, sneaky horror game that it was originally. I think RE4 is good if they want to make money. I'm sure it's not going to be as difficult to remake considering there's not as many strange story plot points as CVX does have. But I think CVX would have been better with how things have been going. But hey, you know what? I'm not against it. I just think it's a really boring story compared to CVX.
Can I say that I really like the way Ash describes RE4, because I think really often RE4 gets described as like, oh, the game that catapulted Resident Evil to a new audience, and not enough as the game that changed what Resident Evil fundamentally was.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what it is. Literally, we have the reason why Resident Evil went to shit is because of RE4. And like, RE4 story is fucking boring. It's like an escort mission the whole time, and it's not even an interesting
escort missions.
I hate escort missions. And like, and
Ash,
honestly,
don't play Shadwin. I'm gonna warn you right now. Don't play Shadwin. I just started streaming it. You do not.
I played a Plague Tale, and it's almost the same thing. But the story is good. Like, I mean, Leon is a great character. I love him. He's goofy, he's funny, he's very relatable, and you like that kind of like awkward fun humor in a game. Everybody does. But RE4 is probably one of the most boring games. Like what okay, last time we saw Leon, he was a rookie cop in RE2, and then all of a sudden he's fucking working for the president, going to find his daughter. Like
You're right.
like what?
We missed some steps.
There's
there.
some
There we
stuff going on.
Yeah.
That we don't understand, and that's what's kind of like.
Do we need
why?
an RE 3.5? Is that what needs to happen?
Well, CVX at least picks up where RE2 left off, in RE3, because as you know, RE2 and RE3 go on around the same exact time. Like RE3 starts before RE2, but it ends after RE2, if that makes sense for some people. And so, like, at least CVX picks up after that, So we still have very young Claire, who's just finding out about how corrupt Umbrella is and all the things that they've done to Raccoon City. That would make more sense in order to continue this storyline that's going on, where people are actually like really hyped and enjoyed it, and we're introduced to the series because of it. But instead they pick RE4, and it's like people that are actually following the story, right? Like, this isn't going to be years down the line or be like, what? Okay, this is 6 years after Raccoon City, and like, what happened between then? How the fuck is Leon working for the president and on some secret escort mission? Like, it just doesn't make sense for people that have just started playing and then being thrown into it. I mean, it didn't make sense back then, but
Now, do you think they're going to get into that for the TV series? Like,
well, the TV series is going to be based on Claire and Chris, which might be why they're not making CVX. Is because it's going to be you're going to have appearances from Leon and Jill as well. They haven't confirmed who the actors are, but the story is going to be heavily focused around Jill or Claire and Chris's relationship and before the mansion incident. I don't know if they're going to go after the mansion incident, which for those that are like, what the fuck's the mansion incident? It's what happens over in the first Resident Evil game up until RE2, which is where we see stars have kind of like spread out. So it's going to be taking place and seeing little bits and pieces from Umbrella and Chris's work in Stars.
Yeah, I kind of get what you mean, because like going off of like the older games, I feel like they are a bit like more horror survival, if anything. I mean, because I can remember like the reason why I got into Resident Evil was just because I just started watching people play it like on YouTube. So I enjoyed it enough that I was like, I'm just gonna go through a bunch of these games. Like I watched Revelations, and I watched 5 and 6, and I watched 4, and I watched 2, and like I think that's kind of like the big thing with it, is that the older games seem like they're just freakier, versus RE4 is on this. It was on an island or something, wasn't it? I think. Like just
for RE4.
Yeah,
there is an island part to it. Yes.
Yeah, it was just like in this far off place in Italy, I think.
Yeah,
like Italy somewhere. Where you're just this. Suddenly you're working for the president, and you're going through and mowing down all of these like Sicilian villagers, whatever. It is a bit different. Like now that you say, I mean, even
Are you talking about? Wait, Spain.
Well, yeah, but then
I thought it was Italy.
Well, it's in Europe.
Yeah.
And
they don't actually say what it is. It's just
I don't think they do. They might though. I don't like RE4 is one of my least favorites, if I'm being honest. And I know everybody's like, it's so fucking great. But like I said, I'm not a huge fan of it, so I don't like nitpick in it.
Well, because I think it's because I want to be honest. Like I could be totally wrong. It's not like I play the games, but I've watched enough of them that I feel like I know like at least a little bit more than like, or at least a little bit like what some people would say like if they had played it. Because it is really different, like it definitely seems more actiony, and I think part of that is probably what got more people into it, is that it's not just this like horror survival.
You're correct.
Because I feel like it would be a bit more fast paced, because you can just run around, mow down enemies, and it just, not that it's easy. I'm not saying that it was an easier game. Maybe it was in that case, but I think that's what got more people into it. Was this less survival horror and more.
No, you're correct. That's why it was more popular. But I think that they let that idea get in the way of creating better content, and that's why like the story for RE5 is so poor. And the fact that the creator of Resident Evil actually he prefers Chris over Leon, which is why you see this very weird, overly masculine Chris, is because the creator of Resident Evil he thinks that Chris is like the perfect guy. Like essentially, he said that he thinks that
False.
Chris.
That is Carlos.
Yeah, Carlos is literally okay. Don't even. Oh my god, the love of my life, Carlos. But like he built Chris and his personality to be the perfect male, and he built Leon to be the opposite of that. And so he actually was so surprised that Leon was more popular because he's like Leon is supposed to be this like dorky guy that nobody really likes because he's the rookie, but then everybody fell in love with that character. And I think what he tried to do was like in his idea make more Chris more masculine in 5, you know, punching boulders and shit, and like it just did not it wasn't conveyed well, and it just was goofy.
I was. Oh, yeah, no, you go ahead. You go.
No.
You go.
Tater actually gave me another idea there, actually, because I just remembered that this was also announced. Because he said, I think they got kind of back on track in RE7, and it's interesting because, like working at GameStop, I literally had spent 15 minutes just listening to somebody on the phone rant about how RE7 is going to ruin Resident Evil for Capcom because it wasn't in third person. And I feel like maybe some of those players, because you said you loved Resident Evil 7 and Melly also loved Resident Evil 7, so I wonder if it's more of the people who didn't enjoy it as much because it went from being actiony from Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6, and like I think even Revelations was a bit more actiony.
Revelations is actually very good, and it was originally a handheld title.
Right, yeah, I forgot about that. But I think they kind of went, a lot of them were going off of that maybe instead of, and then like we get back to RE7 where it's definitely a lot more horror. And not to mention it's first person and like really personal and really scary because of that. But off of that though, Resident Evil 8 is supposedly supposed to be in the same style of Resident Evil 7. What do you think about that?
I feel like I've talked enough.
Well, Melly also, because both of you guys.
Oh wait, I'm pointing down. I guess I gotta point that way, right?
I don't know. It's funny to me because like I don't feel like I came into the series as like the same way that a lot of other people did. Like Resident Evil 4 was my first Resident Evil game, and it's interesting to me because like as much as I enjoyed it, it wasn't like I was like I need to go play all the other Resident Evil games. I was like that was a fun experience. I'm glad I'm done with that. Like I'm glad I played it, I enjoyed it, but I wasn't immediately like, ooh, I want to play more of these games. I was like, like I enjoyed it. We'll just let it be. And so I feel like every time I've played a Resident Evil game, like I've enjoyed it for different reasons. And I think that's because like the series is kind of like whiplashy. Like I feel like tonally it is kind of all over the place. Like it starts off survival horror, then it does become actiony, and then we're kind of back to the roots again with Resident Evil 7. But the thing is like with the exception of Resident Evil 5, I feel like I've enjoyed each one for different reasons. And I think with Resident Evil 8 coming out, I actually really love the direction it took with Resident Evil 7 because I think it's like the best of both worlds. I feel like this is an unpopular opinion, but I actually think it's one of the better Resident Evil games just because to me the storytelling is so tight. I think it really got back to like the puzzly / survival horror things that I think make the first couple of them so great. And I said this earlier, like Resident Evil 1 was the game that made me realize, oh, I really like this as a franchise because it got me like, oh, this is what this is. This is Resident Evil. I thought I knew what Resident Evil was because of 4 and 5, and I was like, no, I don't mind playing them, but it's not for me. But like with Resident Evil 1, I was like, oh, now I get it. Now I get why these games are a really big deal. And so I feel like Resident Evil 7 tapped into that more than any of the other recent games had. And so I'm actually excited about the direction. I don't understand the pushback against first person. First person is to me it's more immersive and scarier. And so like why wouldn't you want that tonally in a survival horror game? And so I get that people get attached to the characters. I know that some people think Ethan isn't as interesting. To me, I thought the Ethan story was actually it felt more personal than some of the other
a devoted husband who's doing anything for his wife.
Right, like to me, like that was way more. It felt way more personal to me than like. I mean, I love Leon, I love Claire, but like you don't. I feel like you don't get into their motivations as much, or you don't inhabit them as characters. It's just characters that you love to experience a story with, and like But like I feel like Resident Evil 7 did something very unique in the Resident Evil series in terms of creating characters that were really interesting. I thought the Bakers were so well done. I thought you know, like Jack Baker is such an interesting character. Like when you finally kind of realize, oh, these aren't just evil hillbillies. Like these are for the most part, other than freaking Lucas, like they're just like good people that kind of
Shit
became
happened.
victims. That
Yeah.
became victims of
Well, and
the virus.
With Resident Evil 7 also, I can remember like the first, because I watched it like on YouTube the first time I ever like experienced it, and I can remember I can remember thinking, this game is making me sick to my stomach, and it did its job, you know, like it's supposed to do that. Like it was just so disturbing. And it was so freaky, like not knowing where some of the characters were at times, or like everything is kind of decaying and moldy and everything. Like I feel like that really like helps it along also, and being like really freaky. But yeah, like I feel like I mean, because that also happened when I was watching Resident Evil 4 though also, but it definitely did it more so when I was watching Resident Evil 7. Like it just freaked me out. Like I wouldn't want to eat while I was watching RE7. But I was actually kind of wondering, because if they're going to completely remake Resident Evil 4, like kind of how they've remade Resident Evil 2 and 3, like I was wondering if like maybe they would try to make it more like, instead of actiony, more horror-y, like survival horror, but they would really have to do a big overhaul of the game in terms of that, wouldn't they? Everything's a lot more open in RE4.
Yeah, no,
Resident Evil 3 and 2.
it's probably one of the biggest maps, because like when you think about the other RE games, they're in specific locations the whole time. It's not like, I mean, in RE3 you do run from Raccoon City to like Nest and like different places, and so you do see a lot of different location changes compared to RE2, which is just the RPD and then Nest and the orphanage essentially. But I guess the sewers too, if you're counting, which is not really, But
I feel like things are just so, and like in the older ones, like or in the newer ones that they've remade, I guess things seem a lot more closed in also, so you feel a bit more trapped, I think
that they're going to cut out a lot of the game. That would be my guess, and because a lot of the like quick time events are all going to be gone. Like quick time events are like, I mean, I would hope so, because we did see 3 QuickTime events in RE3, but they weren't necessarily QuickTime events. They weren't missable. It was more of to make you feel like you were there almost, like oh, I have to turn the key really fast to try and get Nemesis at the beginning, right?
XXIII.
Yeah, XXIII, yeah. And I think like there's a lot of like running from boulders and like jumps and stuff that you have to do as Leon in RE4 that are QuickTime events. And when that game released, that was very popular, right? Like and
it's very much a product of the time.
Exactly. And I think that they would take that out. I think there's some really cool parts, like we see in the hospital with Carlos in RE3 him defending Jill while she's getting better, essentially, right?
That
which
might be
very
one of my favorite parts of the
yeah,
game.
which is very reminiscent of the house in RE4, right? Like where you're defending the house. So I can see them continuing those parts and like just using those specific game mechanics and programming for that part of the game, but I think a lot will be cut down and changed because it's just not popular anymore, a lot of the things that they did, and it's more of considered a nuisance now and like kind of sloppy. Like a lot of the stuff seems sloppy in RE4 to me. Like
oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say like I think that's pretty interesting, because it's like in some sense it's like this game is by many revered to be like, a lot. I mean, it is a lot of people's favorite like Resident Evil.
Oh, I know. Probably a lot of people don't agree with me, but I think it's true.
But I think I'm not probably not as anti remake. I'm kind of more coming from the mindset of like, is it necessary? It's kind of like when they release these like movies nowadays you're like, is this necessary? Do we need a Han Solo like background story?
Yeah.
Backstory.
As it turns out, we don't.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I'm
not to mention.
Um,
Oh,
could-
go ahead. Sorry.
no, I was just saying I'm wondering, like, I'm kind of like in the camp, I'm like mildly curious about what the remake would be like, and I probably am gonna buy it if it comes out. But I'm also like, is this necessary? But then you just actually made a great case for why it is necessary. Because if there is a lot of extra baggage in that game, if there's all these messy QuickTime events, if there's like a lot of the story needs to be cut down, if there's a lot of, and then on top of that, it is one of the more cinematic potential for cinematic Resident Evil games that exist. Like there's a lot of potential for that to
it's a
look.
good point.
I
feel
do
like
think
there's a lot
that they could do a lot with it. 100%.
Yeah, and so I think, and so I'm kind of like, I think I'm more of like, I'm not completely sure if it's necessary, but if there really is a lot of things that are problematic in Resident Evil 4, it would be kind of exciting to see those things like remade, redone.
I do want to quickly sidetrack just to answer something Zen asked. Why? So Zen, DMC5 did win Best Action Game. Sekiro won Best Action Adventure Game. But for what it's worth, actually, I'm talking about the Game Awards for those who don't know. It was a bit of a controversy among action game fans. Mostly it was me and Trev yelling at our monitors. Because almost all the action game nominees in the Game Awards weren't action games.
I think Modern Warfare was.
Modern Warfare was nominated for Best Action Game, and I was disgusted. Sorry, carry on.
I feel like also with like when saying like, is it necessary? Now that you say it, like it would be really cool to see like certain scenes be redone in the HD like they have the new games, because like the Del Lago scene, like it like coming up under the boat would be really cool looking. But I also feel like, is it really necessary? Because this game has been it's been remastered billions of times. Like it's been on PS2 and GameCube and Xbox 360 and PS3 and PS4 and Xbox One, and it's on everything.
I don't think that it deserves to be remastered over CVX. Like they only picked this one because it will sell.
A lot of people will be like, oh,
will be very excited. And by the time it comes out, it will definitely hit home with a lot of people that played it when they were young and will feel like they need to pick it up.
Yes,
I
I
do
agree
understand.
100%. Yeah.
I do think that it's a great business move. Like I do think it's smart to remake it, because like I played Resident Evil 4 semi recently, and it is janky. It is like the aiming, everything is like rough.
I tried to play it on PS4 and I was not enjoying it the same way like that I played it on PS2. And I was
it's dated.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very dated. It's not, and like I know I should talk it a lot. It's not a bad game. I just think it's not as good as everybody says it is. I think at the time it did great things. Like I really do think that, but it really set the series off on a crappy track, and it's all because people were so about it. I think it'll be cool. I think they've done a really good job with Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3. Like, both studios, because it was two different studios that did RE2 and RE3, both under the Capcom name, obviously. I think they both did a great job. The team that did RE3, which is a much more action-based game over RE2, did an absolutely phenomenal job. I know that they can handle RE4, and I'm very confident that they can make it even better. But I don't think it deserved to be remade over CVX, just because it doesn't need it right now. I think CVX is much more important to continuing this line of games, especially since it's the last one with tank controls. It really is the last one. If they remade the other two with old school tank controls, it really, like in my opinion, it would just make sense to do it. But I think their biggest fear is like, the story is very weird. Like, it's very weird. I don't want to do any spoilers because I do think everybody should check it out at some point, but it is very weird. And I think that they were afraid to remaster it and have it brought up, because I do think that they would have some PC issues today with the way it's fucking done. Oh, sorry. Done.
Do you think even like Resident Evil 4 deserves to be like if they had it as a second choice, or do you think there would be even a better game for a second choice after Code Veronica?
I mean, okay, so I don't want this to happen. I think RE1 is perfect. The HD remaster is perfect. I don't want anybody to touch it. Like, it doesn't need to have like cutscenes and like it is perfect as is. In my opinion, it is my favorite of the series, which I think is why I don't want it to be touched. But if they were gonna like remake it, I think that probably Zero, even though I don't think Zero necessarily needs it, out of those games, Zero is one of the best stories in my opinion, and I think it's one of the least popular though because it's technically the prequel to one. It's what happens before the mansion incident, and you follow Rebecca and Billy, which are those the two characters that you play as, and that game is great, but the mechanics are absolute garbage.
Mhm.
And that's because Capcom at the time really enjoyed having the dual player system, like where you like in all the RE games you've seen, you play as two different characters, like with two different segments. And Billy and Rebecca actually play together almost at the same exact time, but your inventory system is you hand stuff back and forth to each other, and it is really hard to use. If there was one that deserved to be remade, probably Zero would be my choice if they weren't going to do CVX, which I don't think they will. But Zero would be great to be remade with better mechanics. It's a fantastic story. It's much more interesting than 4, in my opinion, just because it does kind of give you this backstory to Umbrella and the beginning of Wesker's downfall, which I think is a fantastic side point.
Do you
Sorry,
think that like with Resident Evil 4 remake happening first, that is like that will be the closed window? Like they won't touch Zero or Code Veronica after making 4?
My honest opinion, I think it'll be the last remake they make for a while. Because probably what they'll do is they'll have 8 come out next year, would be my guess. Because right now Capcom is just like every year they're having solid launches, and I think it would be stupid for them not to stay on track with that. So if they launch Resident Evil 8 in 2021, I think it would be a fantastic move for them. And then Resident Evil 4 remake in 2022. I don't think it would be smart to remake 5 and 6, considering those are sore spots. Like if they were to remake 5 and 6, they would have to completely just scrap them and do new story in order to please the fan base, and there would be no reason to remake games that didn't do well, if that makes sense. And I don't think that they'll, at least at this time, they don't need to remake 0, 1, or Code Veronica, which are the other ones. There are a couple different side titles that they could work with, like Umbrella Chronicles and those things. I'd love to see expanses on Umbrella in general, but you see in Resident Evil 7 that Umbrella is no longer evil and Chris is working for them. So I think that they're going to expand upon that once 4 comes out and 8 comes out. They'll probably continue to make side titles that have to do more with Umbrella and their current backstory, would be my guess.
Hi, Pepe.
Pepe! Sorry. You
I'm
shouldn't have talked
I'm
about
the one
this.
I'm the one grilling Ash now.
Ice Dragon, I never owned
I am
a
the captain
Dreamcast
now.
record. I owned a PS1. That was the first console I ever actually went out and owned myself, except a PC. Of course, I'm kind of a PC
Same.
person.
PS1 was my first
I
console.
love RE6. I like it's not a great game, but I love RE6.
I had a blast playing it. I will never talk shit about that game.
No, it's a great full campaign co-op game.
Yeah.
I swear, don't ask me any more Resident Evil.
This is the stuff we love to talk about, though. It's all good. Give him a treat.
I
gotta
think
pay for our
technically
main points.
speaking, Eric, you're in the wrong place, but I'll let Melly decide.
Sorry, you have to go to twitch.tv/SugarMellie to redeem
Yeah.
channel points.
Oh, by the way, guys,
Just kidding.
shout out for our guest today, SugarMellie.
I pretended.
What do y'all think of Pokemon Sword and Shield? I've only played a little bit of it, so I
need
can't
to
tell
play
you what
more,
I think
but
of it.
unfortunately, I've just
think-
gotten. I have too many other things that I've been doing.
Night Hater.
Yeah, have a good
Good
night,
night,
Tater.
Tater.
That's from Eric.
Aww. He's such a cutie.
Agreed.
Silence.
Oh,
Tokyo Mirage says
I
it's the best
actually
Sonic.
before I'm actually curious to get your guys' take on this, even though no one here plays the game that the news article is actually from. There's a whole bunch of stuff. So I don't know if you guys watch E3 when it used to happen, but they announced for Fallout 76 that they were bringing NPCs and such to the game. Now, if you're not familiar with Fallout 76, it's a bizarre online sort of semi-confused Fallout side game that didn't have NPCs. And if you're not familiar with Fallout, it's a very very old, very well respected, primarily PC role playing game franchise, a Western role playing game franchise that's gone through a number of iterations and a number of changes over its lifetime. A few different developers, and such. But these days is published under the Bethesda banner, and Bethesda decided they want to do Fallout 76. It's an idea that never really came to fruition, but they've decided what they're going to do. They've added just now a bunch of new DLC, and they've added NPCs into the game. And I want to stress that a Fallout game did not have NPCs. That's a thing that happened. And I'm curious for you guys, because, you know, when Shadow of War came out, the second, like, Mordor game, there was some controversy about its in-game economy. And when Battlefront 2, of course, famously first was released, not the real Battlefront 2, like the newer, faker one, there was some controversy about the loot boxes and that. And with Fallout 76, there was some controversy about it not having NPCs, and now it does. What are your thoughts on games that come out with something that people really don't respond to and can be viewed as greedy sometimes, and then they change it later? Do you go back and, like, forgive that and make the purchase, or do you shun it forever? Feel free to answer on a case-by-case basis.
I'm literally brain farting on the name right now. Someone's gonna tell me in chat. I played a shit ton of hours on it. The space game.
No Man's Sky?
No Man's
No
Sky.
Man's
No
Yeah.
Man's Sky
Yeah, No
is
Man's
a
Sky, yeah.
fantastic example of a game that overpromised, underdelivered. They apologized, came out 2 years later with a much better version of the game. For Fallout 76, though, I think that it was essentially something that came out. They wanted to try and compete with a BR, and the fact that BR was really popular, and they wanted to throw in this like PvP environment for people, but it was really just too late on that cycle. You know, they already started to die down, and Fortnite was taking over, and there was nothing that really could give that BR PvP experience. And I think that adding NPCs is just a last-ditch effort to try and make their name like, we added this stuff like you wanted. We're great, and then in like a year they're gonna have another announcement or something and be like, but we added NPCs, remember? See, we hold up our end of the bargain. And it's like a last ditch effort to try and clear their name.
Agree 100%. I actually bought No Man's Sky after I heard of all the updates they did to it and all the changes.
Oh, it's fantastic now.
And
I loved it.
And Ian, who's a friend of ours and a friend of the show, has also sunk a tremendous number of hours into it, and I'm excited to play it myself when the time comes. But I actually agree with you. I think that I think probably developers see what happened with No Man's Sky, and they're like, we could probably get away with that, and especially with the Bethesda name recognition and the Fallout name recognition. I actually think this was part of a larger decline. On a side note about Fallout, I think this was a part of a larger decline of the writing and quality of Fallout games that really started with Fallout 4. But I'm open to being disagreed with on that. Melly, has there ever been a game that you bought at a later time than you maybe intended to because it disappointed you at the beginning?
I mean, nothing comes to mind. I don't know if I've ever had that experience, actually.
I don't know if I've really had that experience
either.
either.
I'm trying to rack my brain.
I think sometimes when we're interested in a game, we may not even notice. Like Bloodborne is a great example of that. When it released, it wasn't the dying that was annoying. It was load times in between dying. That was absolutely atrocious and lost a lot of people. And then they updated the load time out, and it got a lot more popular about a month later because of that.
That's not like a gameplay thing, though. That's more just like
I mean, like, I also mentioned Battlefield as well. Like, Battlefield had a crap ton of bugs. They fixed them, and then now it's one of the played like FPS games of all time, I think that like any genre has those kind of things that can happen. Sometimes we look past
Mhm.
them because
I
we
feel
don't
like
think
it-
about them.
I feel like it can be a bit detrimental at times too, because I can remember, and I haven't played My Time at Portia since getting it on the Switch. I have it on the PC now because Trev is awesome and gave it to me because he didn't want it. But I had it on the Switch at first, and they had load times, and honest to God, like it doesn't like 5 minutes, like waiting 5 minutes for food is like nothing, right? But like waiting 5 minutes for a load screen is a lot.
Mhm.
And each load screen, like you go into a building, like on PC, go into a building, it would take probably maybe 10 seconds, not even. And you just load into like the mine or whatever, load into your house. But like loading into the full game also was like probably 7 or 8 minutes of waiting at times, if it was really having a bad day. But yeah, like trying to get in and out of buildings on My Time at Portia on the Switch. I haven't played it since though, so I think they've done a bunch of updates. I don't know if it's gotten better, but it really was kind of I guess annoying if I really want to get down to it. And it's not like it made me not want to play it, but it made it difficult to play because just trying to go into a house to talk to somebody would take an extra like 7 minutes. And then I'd have to go back out. Like I'd have to go in, talk to them, give them a gift, leave, and then be another 7 minutes of waiting before I could play again. It was like I was waiting for an Overwatch queue time, but a lot longer. So yeah, like I think it can be a bit detrimental at times, even with low times. It can be a bit difficult.
I will say, I think, I mean, I don't even know if this is like a fair answer, just because I haven't even put that many hours into this game. But I tend to like to wait to jump into multiplayers and things like that until all the bugs are worked out. Like I think like Red Dead Redemption 2 Online is a good example. Like when that released, I just heard it was like kind of a mess, and so I didn't even bother to jump in. And then I played it like a year and a half later, and I actually had a good time with it. So I don't know. I'm like I don't know. I usually tend to wait till all that stuff gets worked out, and then I'll be like, and then I'll get around to playing it. So I don't know. I think that's probably the only example I can kind of think of. They did add a lot more content. It became a lot more of an incentive to play with people. But again, even when I did play it, I didn't put more than like 6 hours into it afterward. I just played it with some friends a couple days, and that was it. But I did have a good time with it though.
So when Rory was saying that, like, has anything won you over from like mistakes that companies made beforehand? It's like the only thing that would win me over is if they learned and didn't do that again in the future.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, that's a good point.
Like
because,
if EA, since they had that fiasco with the loot box situation and the fake Battlefront 2, if the next game they put out on like PS5 or something has the exact same problem and then learn, then it's like, all right, I'm never gonna touch an EA game again.
yeah, I agree. And I think with even though it wasn't as big a news story, the thing about it is like Battlefront 1, like EA's Battlefront 1, had a lot of issues as well, including very minimal content. Hang on a second.
And like, why companies aren't learning from other companies when they see it doesn't work out for them, like, I don't understand. Like, even if you are like a big name, like you were saying, like, oh, if people get back into it, it's because it's under the name Bethesda. Even if you have that like title, that doesn't necessarily mean that like people are gonna like be like, oh, it's fine, it's them. Like, you'll just be known as the people who like fucked up and like kept trying to make it work even though it wasn't gonna work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm actually going to be really interested now that this stuff, because this Fallout 76 stuff is just like, I think it came out like yesterday or something.
Oh, did it?
So I'm going to be really interested. Like, it's been announced for a long time, but I think it just came out. So I'm going to be really interested how the community broadly responds to this, and if it affects anything. Because of course there won't be another Fallout game for a while, because they're going to be diverting their attention to Elder Scrolls 6 in the hopes that, well, everyone forgets, I suppose. Honestly, like, I think that's a big part of it. So we can see how that goes. I'm actually really, I joined Kaiser in being actually very excited for Elder Scrolls 6, even though I'm sort of maybe a little bit nervous.
You also have a long ways for that.
Oh yeah, we also and they told us when they were making it, when they showed us the little teaser, there was like a
It wasn't even a teaser. It was like a pan of an ocean, and they're like,
it was literally a pan of scenery in the game, which at the very least enabled us to probably tell where it's set, but that's just about it. We just got the setting out of it. And Todd Howard said there were details in it. I think we got the setting, and I don't know, some people might have some theories on the time period, and I have my own theories on that, but they said at the time, they were like, it's at least going to be till the PS5, and we all know it's not going to be a launch title, so it'll be, you know, somewhere down the ways of the PS5 lifetime, I suppose, hopefully with less loading times than we're used to because of PS5's wonderful new solid state
SSD,
and a very fast they have a very fast new storage system they're working with. I'm very excited to see their new storage system and their backwards compatibility.
Alright, so does anyone have any other questions for Melissa or SugarMellie, as more people call her?
SugarMellie Van Halen. Lord Sugar.
Are you so cute?
Great. Please let me talk. Oh, hi. Pepe looked right at me when I said.
Or does Ash have any questions that she didn't get asked on that paper?
Yeah, Ash, this is your last chance to ask me any question ever. So
can I do a final question? This is like the final one.
Okay, yeah.
Final Jeopardy. Yeah, go for it.
Are you shocked by the friendships that you've created through Twitch?
Yes. I honestly, because I didn't.
Were you one of those people who thought online friends can be like actual friends?
No.
Okay.
I mean, like, no, I didn't get into this because I was like, I want to make friends. I was like, I'm just interested in games and I want to get better at it. And I think it was cool to like meet people, but I was not expecting to make like actual like amazing close good
Cook
friends.
Us pancakes in the morning.
Yeah, so I was shocked.
Hey, you made it, Andrew.
I didn't expect it.
Your timing is
terrible, but
impeccable, because we're about to end.
It's very specific.
Andrew!
Unless, Andrew, you have a quick question that you want to ask Melissa.
What are friends?
Aww.
Andrew.
Kiss for you, Andrew.
I don't normally do this, but I'm gonna drop Pogslide in the chat just for Andrew.
You need to spam like 1,000
Oh my
of them.
God.
There's some lore behind Melly not liking Pogslide, by the way. That's not like just like a random thing.
It hurts my eyes.
She discovered that because I spammed it too, which is.
I remember. I was actually around for that.
Yeah.
That was
Oh my
one of the few. Like, that's like I finally like I've been around long enough on this platform that I can be like, hey, I remember this lore from this channel.
Zembo,
God,
Ash just answered the question properly.
You know what? I'm just trying to wrap things up and answer for her. You know, I'm doing my best, Rory. Okay, why you gotta call me out? You know it's true.
That's the most accurate answer I could.
Yeah.
Give, so, I mean.
All right, so enjoy the last time you're going to see Ash on this cast, because.
Whoa, Trevor.
No, we're just kidding. If
I
Ash
thought
banned from making
this
comments
was
like
her
that,
audition
then
to
Ash
be.
would have banned in episode 1.
Yes.
I thought this was her audition to be a regular on this.
Yeah, you don't want that.
PS2, Andrew.
I gotta say, guys, to everyone here, thank you so much for joining us, and also to Ash, thank you for being our first guest host. And
you really were a guinea pig for this new.
You were the Mike Wallace of this show.
And I just need to say to Zippy real quick, you need to either meet or exceed Ash's like.
Yeah, Zippy, you could actually come in with like
example, because like she came in with written questions, like step by step what she was gonna ask, all organized.
Ash did her homework.
So if you don't have the same amount for Rory, then I'm gonna be honest with you. That's gonna be a no
SoCal
from
ran
me.
for you, Zippy.
I guess we actually will say next week we're actually going to be on a different day than usual. It is not going to be Wednesday. It's going to be Saturday, presuming that all my computer parts arrive on the island by the time it actually comes around. And which they should. They're supposed to be arriving on Monday, I think. Most of them. So we'll be, and I will be the guest that day, and Zippy Das Pinhead, who's we interviewed a bunch of DOS pinheads for this position, and the other two turned it down, and so we have our third favorite DOS pinhead, and he's going to be doing the interview for me.
Are you implying
yeah, I'll be
there are two
next,
other
Johnny,
people
yeah.
that are better than Zippy?
Hey, there's a lot of DOS pinheads out there. What can I say?
I mean, there's Gary Das Pinhead and
Gary Dustman.
Let's not even get started. How many Zippies we interviewed for the position? So that's gonna be a lot of fun. I don't know. I think we're doing 7:30 still. I think it's the same time.
Yes, it
just on a
relatively
Saturday,
should be
yeah.
the same time, just a different date.
Wait, hold on. You got a quick question, Johnny? All right, be super quick because we're gonna be winding down.
That interview is gonna happen on Anzac
question.
Day in Australia.
Will Trev ever be in the answering chair?
Yes, but that's
absolutely.
further down.
We are all
That's not.
we're doing this. we planned this
Andrew.
out like semi carefully, such that like in 1 month block, 1 4 week block, it's going to be a different one of us each time. So it was actually we started with Mellie, and I will be up next, and then I'll let you know when we're going to see the other two. Will his banning rights be taken away during the interview?
No, because I own
question.
2 channels.
Yeah, the thing is that Trev runs the show around here, and he makes the overlays work. So, guys, we're going to be doing a raid, and we're not just going to be raiding anybody. We're going to be raiding Didius. And Didius is also a member of our Team True Variety. If you look down at that link right below the video name, it says Team True Variety. Click on that to find all your favorite streamers from now on. And Didius, he's playing Valorant. So if you don't know Valorant, it's Riot Games' new shooter. It's
glorified CS is how I put it.
It's CS with hero abilities, and it looks really interesting. It was formerly under the name Project Alpha, and so I hope you guys enjoy it, and hopefully, maybe you'll be able to see if Valorant is something you would like to check out in the future. But thanks for Fairhurst. It has Fairhurst's endorsement. So picture Fairhurst saying
Fairhurst
in his
was
beautiful
actually
voice,
playing
right?
that because I thought he was playing.
Pick up Valorant immediately.
I thought he was
And
playing
also, once again, happy birthday.
Apex.
Call.
Yeah, happy
Wasn't.
birthday.
Happy
Streamers become raiders.
Yes.
Yeah, streamers become raiders. That's our raid thing.
/me. Or /me.
Done. Well, thanks for having me, guys. I can't wait for next week.
Oh, thanks for being on.
Yeah, thank you so much for
Anything from
this
my
was
cuties.
a blow.
So yeah, it'll be a while until we see you guys again because the next one will be on Saturday. But
A
yeah,
week and a half away. We're still alive.
hold out, and we're raiding
Hold
now.
out.
So
Hold, please hold.
bye guys.
Bye.